All right, Samantha, I'm ready to go. Thank you. All right, let's call the Rankin County Board of Supervisors. Let's call the Rankin County Board of Supervisors meeting to order on June 30, 2022. We'll start with an invocation. Mike, we're going to do something special that you're here. We're going to start with an invocation as we go into this planning commission meeting. But today is Janice Dendy's last day in Rankin County, and it breaks my heart. It makes me sad. The only good thing about it is my agendas and stuff will be accurate now when I get them in front of me. But from that same point, I miss her, and we think the world of Janice. So Mike Word's going to start this open in prayer, but I'm going to let Mike Word pray over Janice Dendy. So, Word, if you'd come up here and put your arms around Miss Janice, this is fixing to be a good one.
I already have my arms around this.
I know it. Well, this is going to be multiple times. So, Janice, go stand by Mike Word. He's fixing to put one of these fireman prayers on her.
Hey, I will tell you this, Miss Janice, you are going to be sorely missed. And I can assure you that these 5 men right here have no idea, but they will.
We have a pretty good idea.
I bet you by the end of next week, your phone is going to burn up.
I think we kind of know me.
I'm going to publish your private cell phone here shortly, so everybody will have
We
it.
can get Samantha to put it on the YouTube. Call Miss Janice.
Word does this for a lot of firemen as they step out, so I'm going to let
Lord have
Word
mercy.
take this over. So, Mike?
Let's pray, y'all. Father, we come to you this morning, and what a great day that, Lord, we can just absolutely just celebrate, Lord, with Miss Janice, that she has spent several decades, over 3 decades in government. Lord, what a absolutely just unbelievable testimony. Lord, we pray this morning that you would just absolutely wrap your arms around her and her family, and that she would enjoy just a long, fruitful retirement. Well deserved. She has, Lord, put tremendous amounts of work in, all hours of the day. Lord, many times you could ride by here at 8 o'clock at night, and Miss Janice's car is out front. Never say a word to anybody. Just plugging away back there in her office, doing what she does, and does it well. So, Lord, we just want to say we thank Janice for all of her hard work and her dedication to Rankin County and really to the state of Mississippi, as she has held many state jobs that affected a lot of people. And we were so proud that you have allowed us to have her for as long as we did. And we pray this morning that you would just absolutely bless her and her family for a long, fruitful retirement. Father, we thank you for all that you do for us. We have a special blessing this morning. I ask for a special blessing for these men that are making the decisions for Rankin County, so that folks like myself and Miss Janice have a just absolute great place to work, a great place to raise our families, a great place to send our kids to school, and Father, a great place to retire. Thank you for just putting the wisdom in their minds, that they make great decisions for us, and we would continue to be Lord, just a very fruitful county. We thank you for all that you do, but most especially for your son Jesus, that you sent to die on a cross, so that, Lord, when we take our last breath, we'll be at the right side of the Father. We don't deserve it, but we thank you for it. Thank you for loving us. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Miss Janice, that's about as good as we can do right there on that. So. Thank you, Word. All right, Miss Renee.
Miss Renee.
Changed her look today.
Well,
Yeah, Miss Renee.
it did catch me off guard, Mr. Wayne. How are you doing today?
Doing good.
All right, so we're going to call this planning commission a meeting to order, and we'll start with any old business. I don't see anything. Let me back up. Item 2 is consideration and approval of June 2, 2022 minutes. We'll entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
So motion by
to
Mr.
approve.
Calhoun to approve, second by Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the like sign. Item 3, I don't see old business, Mr. Dwayne.
No, sir.
Item 4, new considerations. Item number 1.
Item number 1 is Old South Excavation is seeking a conditional use permit to mine 4 acres of a 222-acre parcel on Rankin Road. The applicant has filed notice of exempt operation with DEQ, shows an estimated completion date of 4/1/23. The property is zoned RE1, and the operator is here if y'all have any questions. That's the location of the property on Rankin Road.
Yep.
Make a motion.
All right, so a motion to approve by Mr. Gaines,
Second.
second by Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm setting a public hearing. Mike Word got me messed up already, so Mr. Gaines making a motion to set the public hearing.
Right.
You
Made
good
a
with it? All right, so motion to set the public hearing by Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light signs. The public hearing is set for 7/15/22. Item number 2, Mr. Dwayne.
The second item is a county-initiated zoning change from RE1 to RE1A for 16 parcels on Mulliken Road. This is a mixed area with site-built and manufactured homes. Properties on the south side of Mulliken Road are zoned RE1A, so that's what we're going to on the north side.
All right.
But it's already one. Yeah. Yeah, I make a motion to set the public hearing. This is, it's really kind of a glitch in the zoning from some time way back. And, you got, some manufactured homes, mixed homes, most all family right there. And what the deal is, if it stays RE1, some of these houses are destroyed, or manufactured homes destroyed, you wouldn't be able to put their homes back there. And this is one little stretch here. I don't understand why it happened, but it did some years ago and it got zoned that way, so that's really we're trying to correct it. They're unaware that if it was just construction, they couldn't rebuild. So
Alright.
anyway, that's all.
So-
I make most set the public hearing.
So motion by Mr. Morrison to set the
Second.
public hearing, second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light sign. Nothing else under new considerations, Mr. Dwayne?
No, sir.
Do you see anything under item 5?
No, sir.
Site plan architectural review. Going into item 6, nuisance property hearings, Mr. Slay, good morning.
Mr. Slay, that's Jared's district.
The first one, Cedar Street.
Okay,
This would be a District 1 property rather than
yes,
District 3.
so we will refer to the item 1, Eliab Johnson nuisance property, 183 Cedar Street, a District 1 parcel. We will open that public hearing, and I'll ask anyone, either Mr. Johnson or anyone on his behalf who's intending to speak here, be prepared to come forward. Dwayne, if you will, demonstrate with the photos, please.
Down there off the motor right there.
Hey, Slay.
Mike is hot.
It's like bouncing back.
These are the newer pictures, yes.
What we got going on here,
We have received a complaint saying that people are living in the storage building. They built the storage building without a permit, and we received a second call about all the vehicles.
Mr. Johnson here. All right, please go forward. Give your name and address.
Eliab Johnson, 183 Cedar Street.
If you will, explain to the board what's going on here with the storage facility.
There is a place to store tools and the kids' stuff. There's a 2-bedroom trailer, and there's no space to store anything, so had to get a storage building to store toys and stuff. That's why it's the kids' playhouse. There's no place to put all their toys. And no one lives in there because there's no AC, no heat. You will burn up if you live in there.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make it look nice.
What about the plumbing? Is there any plumbing, water or sewer or anything?
There's no plumbing, no water, no nothing.
Just a shell of a building.
Yeah, it's just a shell building that I made look nice with 2 sides just to make it look better in the air. I don't like stuff to look rinky-dinky. I even got the house painted and got the porch made to look like the shed to make the community look better.
You did a good job fooling somebody.
It looks good.
I just moved out here. I run a community service in the community, I buy and sell them cars to people in the community that need to get to work. I put them on a $20 a day plan, so if they wanna ride, they give me $20 a day and I give them the car and they ride. There's no reason for nobody not to be able to get to work.
No, I want them to work.
So we do have an issue. Is this residential? Okay, so obviously we have an issue there, Mr. Johnson, with, it starts taking on the appearance of running a business in a residential area, which is prohibited under our zoning ordinance. So to the extent that you're operating a business there, you may have to look for somewhere else that's not zoned residential to be able to do that. Otherwise, we're going to continue to get these complaints and have to address it. So I do appreciate the fact that you're trying to offer service to the community, but this may be a situation where that good opportunity just needs to find another place to be operated,
Maybe
okay?
just to store the cars.
Yeah, they would need to be kept at a different location, is the point.
Yeah, like all them in the front line, those are just for rental cars, for up-to-date rental cars that we bought so people can just rent the car out for the day and bring it back.
But what he's saying though, that's considered a business.
It's a
Yeah.
business.
You said that yourself, it's like, and
Yeah, it's like.
I see what you're doing, but I don't, I mean,
Yeah.
the way it's zoned.
We need to look for another place to try to do that. That's zoned, that would be zoned appropriately, be zoned commercial.
Yeah.
Find a commercial piece of property where you could do that. Yeah, so that's an issue. That needs to be addressed. What I would suggest is that we take it under advisement maybe for 30 days and allow Mr. Johnson to try to locate an alternative for his rental.
How do they get there? They have somebody drop them off, or they walk, or what?
What they do,
So
they
they bring 'em
have
and-
somebody in the family to come drop them off and they just pick it up and drive for like a week or so and bring it back.
So how much you charge a day? $20 a day?
Yeah, it's $20 a day.
Nice cars.
And that's why they just, yeah. And then for the other ones, we give them $20 a day until they pay it off, like $4,000. Like the GMC sitting at the back, there's a $4,000 truck. We give it to them for $20 a day and they pay it off. And we give them the title and it's gone. So a lot of them cars don't even stay out there all the time.
Yeah.
And then I haul stuff, so the box trucks for me working every day.
Okay.
You got a
That's-
business
you
card?
work, you use it.
Yeah,
I might get rid of my
Yeah.
cars.
yep, I
I'll
have.
take one.
Yeah.
I know somebody that can do it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Morrison?
Well, I just got to go with along with Mr. Slade suggested,
Yeah.
the attorney.
Okay. Maybe just give Mr. Johnson 30 days, try to locate an alternative.
Yeah, we appreciate what you're doing, and I don't have a problem with what you're doing really personally, but it's because of the way it's zoned. I really appreciate what you're trying to do, but I see
Yeah.
it. So we got the complaints, so we have to look at it, and so that's.
Yeah, I
what you're talking
understand.
about.
I know a lot of people ain't happy about it. Like, they not happy I'm out there, period. I'm the age I am and I came and got, and they came and told me they been out there for this and this and this. They say I'm a drug dealer. They say can't nobody have all that out there and ain't a drug dealer.
Well, we're not here to say that, no, but we just really gotta just go motion.
Oh, I'm just saying that's what the people out there say to me. Yeah. But I'm a hard working man. Get out, I chunk boxes every day. Yeah.
Well,
Well, we hate to
Alright.
have
So the
to
motion-
hard
motion
time you,
would-
but
All right, so
we
we'll
have
they
a choice.
give you,
right, so we'll close that public
30
hearing.
days, at least 30 days.
30 days, maybe 60.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll
I'm
close that
good with
public
giving-
hearing.
Yeah, close the public hearing, and I'm good with giving him, actually, I'm good with giving him
Alright.
60 days, give him time to find somewhere.
All right, so motion by Mr. Morrison to extend it 60 days to find another location.
Yeah, that's fine.
For 60 days?
60 days to find another
Y'all check
location.
back,
So,
and Dwayne, y'all just keep checking on, I mean,
all right. Is there a second on the board?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed with the like sign. All right, so item number 2.
Item number 2
Mr. Slade.
is the Eulalio Arzate nuisance property at 205 Circle Drive East. It's a District 3 property. We'll open that public hearing. Anyone on behalf of Mr. or Ms. Arzate that needs to be prepared to come forward can do so now. Wayne, go ahead.
The complaint was the livestock in an RMX zoning, sanitation, rubbish, and weeds.
Where is this located? Where's this address?
205 Circle Drive East, in Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Okay.
Are you Mr. Arzate?
See, yeah. Yeah,
You live at 205 Circle Drive East?
yes, sir. Yeah, we already sold all the livestock. You know, it's gone. And also this picture right here, we have a new pictures. We cleaned, I already took all the roof, all that over there is gone, including the porch, the one is over there. That one is also, it's been cleaned. I got pictures, you wanna look at it?
Did y'all do that yesterday?
Yesterday, sir.
Taken yesterday?
Yeah, she came in the morning.
Okay.
She can show you the pictures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
check them out.
Yeah, we cleaned all that yesterday, except for that one over there.
Y'all went to work then?
Yes, with the rain.
Yeah, with the rain.
Yeah, I bought the property, the one before, yeah, and on that one, but almost a year ago. There was an old trailer over there. It was sitting there for years. And I cleaned that trailer, have to cut it in pieces, me and my family. It took us almost 2 months to clean all that. That's the reason it still looks like that. You know, I have to cut the frame, take everything, insulation, everything, and take it to the dump.
Okay.
That's what I did on that one.
Okay.
You know, and but like I said, you know, all that is gone already, and I'm about to get a bulldozer, you know, because I'm gonna clean and I wanna plant some fruit, you know, trees.
How much longer do you think you'll need to get this done?
It's probably another 15 days or 3 weeks.
Well, why don't I give you 30 days and we'll come back out and
That'd be
we'll
a
look at,
month.
give
Yeah,
you
yeah,
1
yeah,
month
I mean-
to
I
get it
mean-
cleaned up.
I mean, where you're going, I don't think it'd take long. You did a lot today.
Yeah, and on the house, you know, I'm working on the house.
Yeah.
You know, the reason I stopped on the working on the house, that's because I had a little trouble with the house. So I still want to know, you know, I still don't know if I'm gonna own this house or not. And this guy, he's looking at me all the time over here. You know, that I'm trying to fix. I already talked to the guy. You know, I'm trying to see if the house is gonna be mine. I mean, I wanna fix the whole house. I wanna paint it.
Right.
But it don't make no sense, you know, if it's not gonna be mine, to put all the money in.
Right.
You know, that's one of the reasons I stopped. I started fixing the house, you know, but I have to stop.
We're good. I mean, we're gonna give you 30 days and we'll revisit this. And we appreciate you cleaning up what you did and just continue to do what you're doing out there, okay?
Okay, now, I just got one question. And I think it's on the.
Nobody's living in that RV, are they?
No. Keep going. You show one where it shows the. That's all you got?
Wait a minute.
Yeah, that one. Do I need to take that off?
No. Clean it up a little bit, maybe.
If you got black tar,
Yeah, I got.
replace your green tarp with black tarp, I think.
To try to make it, to make it
Just make
blend
it
in
look-
with the background.
Do you need a tarp or can you put 10 on it?
Yeah, because you know, I own the other properties on the side, and it was the same thing. You know, there was 2 trailers over there. You know, I had so many rats, mice, snakes, And, you know, and I've been there about 7 years. And we clean everything, same thing. We cut all the old trailers and make it look good, you know. Like I said, the other property, I just had it for 1 year. And I'm working on it, and I mean, if we want to have a good neighborhood,
Yes.
I think you're doing a great job.
We appreciate what you're doing to
Appreciate
clean
what
it
you're
up.
doing.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So-
we're responding to complaints, Mr. Arzate. We don't go around looking for these issues. They are brought to us
Yeah.
by complainants.
Yeah, and,
we have to act
and,
on them.
Yeah, I understand. And I say something yesterday, and I hope she don't took it personal, because I didn't say anything to her. I was talking about my neighbor, because the reason I say that's because the trailer, it was there before. You know, it was a jungle. And I took the trailer off, and then she complained. So that's the reason I say things, you know. I never say anything. I respect, you know, I've been in Mississippi 25 years.
Yes.
Never have any kind of trouble with the law, and I don't want any kind of trouble.
Yes, sir.
No, we don't want you to
Thank
either.
you.
All
All
right.
right.
appreciate-
So,
Thank you
we'll
very
close
much.
that public hearing, Mr. Calhoun.
Yeah, we're not gonna take any action.
Okay, so no action taken. Do you need a vote on that, Mr. Slay, or no action taken, or just close it up? Okay. All right, so item number 3.
Item 3, Mr. President, is the Carlith and Jennifer Taylor nuisance property at 2650 South Pearson Road. It's a District 1 property. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask Dwayne to demonstrate the photos. Either Mr. or Ms. Taylor are welcome to come forward at this time.
You're good.
Pigs for sale.
Jennifer and Edward Taylor, 2650 South Pearson Road.
Okay. All right, tell us about it.
That's where I live. What's the complaint?
All right. Mr. Morris?
I think we got,
The complaint that we received was pigs were right on, the raising pigs right on the property line.
Yes.
Borders up to a wedding venue.
Yes.
maybe, or a venue right next door to it.
Right.
And it was an odor, from what we understood.
Yes. Right. So the use has become a nuisance, and we need to address whether or not there's an alternative to what's happening there.
This is the one that we had conditions that you got to go there to begin with, right?
What's that now?
There was conditions set for you to even be able to locate that trailer there, correct?
What were they?
Not cause any harm to your adjacent property owner?
Not causing any harm. Well, how am I causing harm?
Well, those pigs right there.
So me living there, anything that this man says that I'm harming his property or whatever I may be doing, we're gonna come down here every day?
No, we're gonna do it today.
Well, how is that doing his harm?
You
Because
have
he said it
pigs
is?
Within a few feet of his business. Pigs stink. That's how.
I think.
Yep, and I get out there, you know, I keep a pile of dirt on my property, and I refurbish my pens ever so often. You know, I do everything. I put fly traps out, soap, I do everything. Every now and then, yep, you're gonna get
You
a
need to
smell.
move the pigs.
What's that?
You need to move the pigs.
The problem is.
So
I
the
think-
decision's made already before I got here.
It is on me. Yeah.
Well, all right, Dwayne, will you walk us through y'all's department's review of everything?
Yeah.
What's the zoning of that property now?
RE1A.
What is it?
RE1A.
RE1A does allow livestock, and I think pigs are listed under
Yep.
livestock.
Right.
Okay.
I think the issue there is they're so close to the property line that you get the right wind, you know, if you're having a wedding or whatever next door.
Just so we're clear, this is not a zoning consideration. There is not a violation of the zoning ordinance that is in play here. This is a nuisance consideration. What you have is the use of the property, even though it's permitted under the ordinance, is because of where it's located immediately adjacent to a commercial business, that use has become a nuisance because it is rank.
All right, so let me ask, I know nothing about farming, first off, let me just say that. So moving it or relocating it to a different spot away from, does that do it? I mean,
Well, you know, I went
Could it? I
that
mean,
way. I've talked to Paul. He told me the other day, he said, no, that's not it, because I'm adding on to it and I want your animals gone.
Well, and I don't think there's any kind of regulation saying he's gotta move his animals.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
not
well,
But nobody,
unless,
you know, everybody's asking me, why is my pen so close? Why is his building so close? He got just as much property as I got, because he chose to build right
Wait a
on the
minute.
line.
How many
Wait, wait,
acres?
wait, wait, wait.
How many acres you,
Wasn't his building there first? Okay. If you had your pig pens there and then he had built his building, I'd be looking at it from opposite sides, because I say, you knew the pig pens were there when you built your building. But when you put the pens right there at the fence, I mean, I raised on 1,500 head of hog farm, but we were way out in the country. I understand about the wind and the odor, and, but you built right next to his business. You put the pens there. And you and I had this conversation the other day on the phone. And, you know, I know you can't control the wind, I understand that, but like I said then, you spent $15,000-$20,000 on a wedding, and you had people all coming out of town, and et cetera, and you'd spent that, and your daughter or son was getting married, I don't think you'd really appreciate, when you got there, you found out there was a pig pens 25, 30 feet from your building.
I've had more people come over and address my pigs in a good nature. Oh, they're so cute, they're this, they're that, you know, I'm loving, you know, little kids come over there. I've had more of that than, you know.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but they're, like I said, I'm just looking at it from the other side too. I'm trying to look at both sides. I don't understand why the pens had to be built right there next to where you know people are gonna come and they're gonna have events. And,
Well, there's a few reasons is, you know, we got a bad coyote problem. I mean, my neighbors here today killed 14 last year. You know, I've had them kill my dogs. You know, and I've got a bad knee and I'm trying to get fixed, and, you know, I need to have it, you know, kind of close up.
Well, Mr. Taylor, you could have very easily put that on the other side of your house.
Okay, if I put it on the other side, then say 2 years from now, someone gets that, so where does that leave Mr. Taylor?
But
Now,
the thing
therefore, why
is,
did you move it
though,
over there? Well, the board told me
No,
to.
The thing is, you're allowed to put it there with conditions, and you're violating those conditions.
Because of what's the condition, the nuisance?
I've already said it once, you know, so it's not gonna change.
where things stand is this. There is a public nuisance, which is what this board is now addressing. We address public nuisances. There is also a private nuisance. So the wedding venue has the ability, should it choose to do so, to address the nuisance that's being created here in court themselves. The public nuisance piece is what we're addressing, and it appears that there is some evidence before the board that it is pretty rank, and that it is disadvantaging the neighbor and the neighbor's business. And so, to the extent that that can be considered a public nuisance, your options are to declare it a nuisance and ask the justice court to deal with it as a violation of your nuisance considerations and a violation of the property maintenance code.
Well, I like to
That's
say,
where
you know,
you
I
are.
got nuisance
Yeah.
too. Broken beer bottles and everything thrown over my fence. I go out there, you know, I don't bother Paul with this stuff because you know what? I chose to live by a wedding. There's things that come along with that, and I accepted that. You know, the drunk driver speeding up and down the road, you know, just people coming over. You know, they don't come up to my property, up my driveway, and ask me a question. They just crawl through the fence, hey, shut that down or whatever. And we do try to, if there's a wedding going on, you know, I won't run my tractor, cut grass or anything. Because I'm not going to mess somebody's day up. I really am not. But, you know, he doesn't, you know, there's two sides of this fence. There's his side and there's my side. There's also nuisance to us, but I'm not down here every day complaining when I go out there. I'm not going to say every wedding.
Well, he's not.
But some wedding, you know, broken glass, beer
He's
cans.
not down here complaining every day, but
You know.
I want to answer something you said a minute ago. You said if I move them on the other side, and who's to say 2 years from now somebody does something over there and they complain, then I'd be on your side because you put your hog pens there first. And with that gentleman or whoever bought that, they knew they were buying beside the pens. So I would be on your side. That's exactly what I'd tell them. I'd say they were there before you were. And the same way here, they've been doing this venue here before you came there. We kind of went on the limb to help you get in there because there was some pushback. You knew that. And but the thing was, not to create a problem for the existing
Business.
business or property that's going there.
Okay, so
That's
if I
part of it.
move my pins, you know, to the other side of my property or whatever, then that solves the problem with my pigs?
I mean, and I guess that was my question. Even if you move it, I mean, I don't know about,
How
mean,
many
if the-
acres is right there?
the
I mean,
wind's
how much-
blowing.
There's roughly
Right.
4
acres.
something like that.
About
How
40.
many pigs?
Well, right now I do have some babies, but you know, that's the problem. You know, when my 2 big pigs, I have 3 that I normally keep.
Right.
Well, the board got, you know how it goes. And I'm trying to get rid of the babies because we don't want all them either. You know, they're supposed to be just pets for my wife, but, and I have all of them dedicated. It's just they have to get so old, or if you
Yeah.
take them from their mom, they're gonna die.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to do, to go back to my
You
3.
can wean them, you can wean them in 6 weeks.
How
Yeah.
wide is the property?
I think it's 90 feet. I believe it's 90 feet.
Oh, Lord.
That's not very wide. Hey, what do you have there? What is it, 3 or 4 acres? I mean,
Right at 4.
4?
Yes, sir.
So you go back?
Way
Yes,
back.
sir.
Yeah, and I could move, you know, I can move them over if that solves the problem, but let's just address it today and just, you know.
I'm trying, well, yeah, I mean, we'd like to, I mean, I hate you even built them right next door. I mean,
Well,
this
we
is
called
gonna be a
Mr. Paul
problem.
and asked him, like, you know, would you like to come over and tell us where it would be okay for us to move them? And he basically said that he's getting ready to add on to his business, and as far as he was concerned, there's nowhere on our property that we can put them.
He wants them gone.
And
I mean,
we have tried to be very civil with Mr. Paul. You know, we've asked, you know, could we have my husband's only home on the weekends, so you try to take care of animals and yards and all that, and then have a 6-hour period on a Saturday where there's a wedding. We've asked for hey, can you email us a schedule of your wedding so that we know, so that we can plan our weekend around it? We've never gotten that. We've tried to be the best possible neighbors that we possibly can. People think that because we live in a modular home that that's all that we could afford. No, sir. That is not at all the case. And I thank you all for allowing us to live there. But you know what? We have rights too. And our rights say that we can have animals. And I'm very sorry that nobody can understand that our entire lives we have spent, this is our forever home. And we should be able to do within the law anything that we can do, that we want to do. When we got this land, Mr. Paul tried to buy it from us because he wanted it for whatever reason, I don't know. But I'm not going to live in a home where, because somebody has a business beside us, that they get to tell us what we get to do on our land.
they chose to build.
We paid for that property, we pay property taxes just like they do. That is our home.
I mean,
And
they
you know
chose to
what?
build a commercial business
In
in
the
a
country.
residential neighborhood, so.
They got approved for
They
all
should've-
that. They went down the same road.
I understand that.
You had to go they went down everything and got that zone to build, so I mean, they did everything right.
I'm
The
not doubting
bottom
that.
line is they
Exactly.
were there first, and the pigs are creating a problem for them. In the same way, telling you, if it's flipped it around, if you were there first, I'd be telling them the same thing.
Yes,
Hey, you knew you were building next door to a pig pen.
Well, no, to be honest with you, I'm the type of guy, I'd look at my wife and I'd say, you know what? There ain't nothing we can do. We chose to, you know, we knew one day this land might be developed. They might bring animals. It is the county. So, I mean, honestly, in my heart, that's what I'd have done. I wouldn't be here today trying to get a man's hogs because I chose to build my business where I built it.
Well,
That is the honest God truth.
Well, I wish we could work something out on Neighborly side. I think both of y'all have worked with each other, because I've done a little research, and I know each of you have worked with each other to a certain extent.
Oh, yeah.
And they've helped you in situations, and I think, and now, so the pigs being right at the fence are where to me, the issue is.
You know, I don't know Mr. Paul, just like he don't really know me that well. But there's some other neighbors here, and I promise you, he would be just glad that I'm his neighbor. If I seen something going on over there, somebody messing around, I'd call Paul. If he said nope, I'd be the first one over there to protect his business. you know, in
Oh,
everything.
I feel sure he will. I think he's a good man. You're a good man. It's just we got this issue right here. I mean, I don't think any of you are bad people.
But I don't have a problem with
I
moving
know
my
your
pins
neighbors.
to the
I know
other
your
side.
neighbors. I see them sitting back here. Great people. But, you know, you're just in that spot. Sure, it may be zoned that way, but you still have to take consideration of what's around you.
Yeah.
I mean, how many other animals do you have?
I got one cow and a goat.
I guess that's my question. Again, I'm not a farm guy at all by any means. I don't know moving your hogs to the other side of a 90-foot wide property is going to affect the smell. I mean, I don't
Well,
know.
that's what everybody's told me, even Paul, you know.
I don't know how that
before.
affects it. You know,
So,
I mean, moving them to one side of your property to the other. How's that going to cut down the smell if it's
Well, it may not
if
cut
the
out the
wind's
smell.
right or whatever? But I mean, does that
But they-
fix
they
the
are.
problem?
well, his, you know, when we first moved there,
He's trying to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I mean, where they are right now, you can really look out the venue, right at the pig pen.
Craig,
I have a question.
what's
Yes,
that?
You can look right out of where the
Yeah, I know this
weddings
is not
actually held, right at the
zoned.
pig
Hey,
pens.
I know
You
it's
can't
not-
see it, those are the big
but
fences.
Hey,
Well-
agriculture.
yes, sir.
You have several different, I have some land.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not allowed to have hogs,
Yes, sir.
and I've got 170 acres.
Yeah, if you're in A1, Steve, I don't know what it's
Yeah.
zoned. If you're in A1, you can have hogs.
I'm-
What you can't have is a commercial hog processing
Oh, okay.
activity, one that has significant impact on water and smell and public safety type issues, Steve. Those are relegated in Rankin County to A2. This is not a hog operation. This has the
Okay.
trappings of a small
What
house.
makes it a hog operation? A certain number of
Yes, sir.
hogs?
And it's the commercial nature of it, Jared. It's where they are being raised and processed for purposes of commercial food production. So chicken houses would be A2, Steve. They are outright permitted in A2. But we don't let chicken houses go just anywhere. And if they're around commercial activity or high-density residential, we've got a problem. And so, and we know that we're gonna have a problem, so we have our zoning ordinance set up in that context. If I could sort of direct us back where we are, there's very limited options that we have when we are dealing with a public nuisance consideration. Your options are to declare it a nuisance and move it up to justice court and let the court handle the decisions that need to be made vis-a-vis the complaint, how to deal with this issue.
I think that would be their best avenue, to not deal with this for years and years. Like he says, he can't, and can't come down here every day, but Bob can't come down here every day. The ultimate decision does not lie here.
Yes.
You know, I think that, I mean, it's not my district, and I'm jumping in where I shouldn't. I know agriculture. I think we should
You know, I may
allow
get rid of
them-
my pigs in the near future,
I think
you
we should
know,
allow
but
them
I'd like for
opportunity.
that to be my decision.
Well, I think we should allow them the opportunity
Yeah,
to
well,
go.
the process that
and-
we're talking about here gives everybody time,
Fair.
because there's
Yeah.
going to be a length of time
Yeah.
for it to move through that process.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what that is. What are we seeing, 60
Yeah,
to 90
6 to 8
days?
weeks.
Yeah, so it's a fairly significant amount of time before you ever get to the point of decision that has to be addressed at that level. There's just limited things we can do. I'd like to see a resolution worked out between the property
Yeah.
owners. That'd be great, but we can't force that.
You're right.
Your options are limited. You either say that it's not a nuisance and move on, you say that it is a nuisance and you send it up.
Well, and moving is not gonna stop. It's gonna be back here.
I think you're right.
And no matter what we do today, one of the parties is gonna feel like it wasn't fair and they want
Yes,
to go to
right.
justice.
I mean, I want animals, he don't want me to have them.
Right.
That's
That's
the
it.
that's the
And
question.
needs
I
to
don't
be
think
a
he don't want
judge.
you to have animals. I think he just done, and I'm speaking out of turn. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we need to hear from him. But I don't think it's that. I think the biggest thing is because the same thing, if you'd had a chicken pen right there with 50 chickens in it, they create an odor and everything that create problems for that. So, you know, we've been down this road before in a neighborhood. same
Would
thing.
hearing from some of the neighbors help y'all? I mean, 'cause there's a couple of them here
Well-
that has animals.
Yeah, I know,
That
but
that
they're
would be
not
something that I
creating
think
no
the
problem.
Justice Court judge would be well served to hear.
Right.
If the other members of the community who live in close proximity are willing to testify under oath in court, I don't have an issue with any odor. I don't know what the complaint is. That's gonna be taken into consideration by the judge.
Well, the difference there, they're not right next door. I know the neighbors, I know where they live. They're not right next door.
Right.
I mean, they're right there.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, I understand that, and there's probably not bothering anybody else. So,
This
probably
seems
not.
like that it's tailor-made for something that the Justice Court judge ought to be hearing so that it can be in a controlled situation where testimony can be adduced and the decision can be made by the judge. I would suggest, and you guys are the decision makers, I would suggest that you're well served to consider it a nuisance. Go ahead and declare it a nuisance, move it up to Justice Court.
Do we need to hear from anybody else?
Yeah, that's totally up to the board.
I'm just asking.
It's totally up to the board.
Mr. Taylor, are
as
you
to what-
aware of what Justice Court is informal, maybe more informal than this? You don't even have to have an attorney. You go there and you tell them, and you're talking to one person that has reasonably good common sense, and I can't tell you which way he's gonna go. But ultimately, I think you're gonna end up there anyhow. I think that's for all parties. Craig just said it. I mean, I think that's.
I don't know that.
Well, I respect you guys. I mean, I've never met y'all before. I talked to Mr. Jared Morrison on the phone, and, it's like I told him, this is more than just the pigs. This is my right. This is her right. That is my land that I pay for. So, and wherever I gotta go, if y'all tell me to go that way, that's where I'm going, because that belongs to me. That's mine. I don't tell him what he can do on his side of the fence. He ain't gonna tell me what I'm gonna do on my side of that fence.
Well, I mean, you got.
And that's where I stand.
3 of these 5 right here live in the country, and I think us 3 had hogs, cows, chickens, and everything else.
The other 2 want to.
They want to, they live, I mean, they.
I don't go out there and they have a wedding. I don't go out there, get drunk, raise hell, party and all that. I do none of that.
Well, I want to tell you, and I'll give you a simple example. I have a neighbor that moved in, and long story anyway, right next door to our property and our place, and they didn't understand what it took to deal with animals and everything, and they brought every kind of animal they could have there. It's just like we're in the country, we're gonna have everything. And we had a lot of problems with them getting out. They didn't understand the proper type of fencing. They didn't understand how to keep their horses away from other people's stuff. But we just worked it out, and they were so accommodating and would listen and try to help, because they didn't want to impede on us that have been there for 70 years. And they were new, and we weren't ugly. We just talked to them, worked, but there was a learning process for them. And we get along great. But my point is, when they realized they were creating a problem for us, and we'd been there all these years, they did everything, and we worked with them I even helped them build a fence so their horses wouldn't be getting over in our place, because I had a stud horse. And so, I mean, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I'm open to Mr. Paul. He
If
can come right
could-
up here
but
next
they
to
could have
me.
easily said, no,
We
sir.
talk it out.
We bought this land, and we're not, we're gonna put whatever we are out on here, and if it gets out, we can fuss at us, and we can get it back. Instead, they work with us, and we're great, they're the greatest neighbors you could have. If traffic comes down the road, same thing. They're gonna see where it's going. It's either come to see us, or they're leaving. So I'm just saying, that's what you need to do. Y'all need to come to, I mean, and they even got rid of some things because they couldn't keep them in the pen. They didn't have the proper stuff because they weren't prepared. They didn't realize they moved to the country. We can just get animals and put them out there.
Well,
It
we
was-
ain't getting into, I ain't getting no more, I'm not, like, you're not gonna walk over there and be 50 head of pigs or 30 goat. I have no desire for that.
I'm just saying, if it affected them, affected us, and if we had anything that was affecting them, we worked to help it. Like the fence, I didn't have to have the fence that good because I didn't have anything keeping it out. We had to keep out. They had the animals, so they needed to keep them off us. Instead of just leaving it alone, I helped them build a fence, which have benefited me too, but I don't have any livestock that's getting on them. Theirs was getting on me.
Yeah.
And they tried to put barbed wire up to keep goats. Well, I said, barbed wire won't keep goats in, so we had to go with net wire. That's my point. They learned, and they were like, I said, hey, come on, you gotta put some net wire up. So it was a learning process for them, and they're the best neighbors, but we started out a little like, wait a minute now, you moved down here, you're dumping all this stuff on us. Talk to them, and we worked it all out.
Well, I'd love to work it out with Mr. Paul,
Well,
you know,
I think the
for
only
us not to
thing
be
is
up here with
the
you guys.
pigs. The pigs are the only thing,
Yeah.
and that's where we are, and the only thing we can really do is take it to justice court, and I hate to see it go to justice court, because I don't want to see friction, continued friction between you and your neighbors, and the next neighbors teaming up with you because they didn't like this and whatever, and just being an ongoing thing.
Because that's
But he
where it
does
could
have a
go,
business.
but I don't want it to.
He does have a business, and that is his livelihood. And if he's got I'm sure he can show you some things that shows where it has affected his business.
All right, so,
need to move on.
all right, yeah.
That's
All right, so
Mr.
tell me what you want to do.
I don't see any choice from what the attorney's saying, other than for us to declare it a nuisance. And a judge is gonna have to
Yep.
see if y'all, and hopefully between now and then,
Yes.
y'all can get it worked out.
Yes.
All right.
To
All
a
right.
different way.
Is that your motion, Jared? Declare it a nuisance and move it
That's all I
up?
can do.
Okay.
All right, so we'll close that public
From
hearing.
what
Thank you
you're
guys for
telling
your
me, that's
comments.
all I
Thanks for
can
coming
do.
in. So, Mr. Morrison,
Yeah, that's all. I can
motion to
do.
declare it a nuisance.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with like sign.
Okay.
Item number 4, Mr. Slay.
This is a continuation of our old.
Hey, hold on
Wait a
one
minute.
second. Sir?
I think Paul needs to say a word or two about
Look,
That's fine if you'd want to.
Yeah,
I'd like for him to say something. Yeah.
All right. It's out of our hands at this point, but if Paul
But
wants
if
to
he'd
say
like to
something
say
to us,
something,
okay.
that's fine.
I mean, you took your time out to come.
Okay,
Yeah, he took
sure.
the time out to come. I think he,
Okay,
yeah.
sure. If you would, just introduce yourself to the board, please, sir.
All right, so I'm Paul Smith, and we have the Cotton Market venue there. And I'm not trying to be unreasonable with him. It's just the fact that he's 26 foot from where our chapel is, where they get married. And I've got pictures showing that. I've got emails and complaints, people wanting money back and things of that nature. You know, I'm not trying to control what he does on his land, and I know he's not trying to do that to me. It's not like that. It's simply the odor. That's all it is. I don't care what he does over there. I could care less. But it's just simply affecting my income, and I get constant emails, complaints after complaints of, you know, the smell. It's just right there on us. I mean, I've got pictures showing that. I've got emails proving the damage that it's doing, and it's just, that's all it is. It just boils down to the issue it's creating right there. I mean, I've built a huge fence that's separated us two, and it's like every time I add on to it, he comes back. And I'm not saying he's doing it on intentional or on purpose, but every time I add on to the fence, he comes back and adds a little bit more. And it's just right there on top of me.
Okay.
And I mean, ultimately, I would love the pigs gone, because I don't think moving them's going to help me, because it's just not a whole lot of land he has to work with. But I would be happy if he just, that's what I would love. I'd love for him to have them gone, but if it couldn't work out that way, I'd love for him to at least be on the back part of his property. I mean, anywhere else on the property except for right on top of me couldn't do anything but help. It's just that he chose to put it right there on top of me, so.
And I guess what's happened this morning, just so you know, we obviously hear your side and his side, but they made a motion to send it to justice court. A judge will make that decision from here, so it's out of the board's hands.
Sure, I
And
understand.
I think you understand too, after hearing what the attorney said, we don't have any authority to do
Sure.
what you're actually wanting, but we have the authority to send it to justice court. Where a
Understand.
judge then can say, what, all the information and the documentation and the emails or whatever you're showing where you've lost revenue or whatever, that's the things that you need to have a judge look at, to help make a decision.
Sure.
But I think it's clear that we went as far as we can go.
Sure.
And I just want this to be a neighborly thing and get y'all worked out and be neighbors, because you're gonna be there a long time, y'all gonna be there a long time.
Right.
It's gonna be what it is.
All right.
I'm Paul's dad, and I'm gonna say this
Yeah.
real quick. I don't know if you can rescind that, but I believe after what I just heard him say, that the two parties can get together and make everybody happy and move the situation away from him. If you can rescind that and let them, or can
We
that
won't
not?
have to, correct me if I'm wrong, we won't have to rescind that, because you will have time, and if y'all can get it worked out
Today, tomorrow,
tomorrow,
this week.
before actually you have to go to a justice court, So yes, the reason we're leaving it this way, if you don't get it worked out, we don't have to start this all over again.
Right.
But, so, no, you can work it
And I
out.
thank you for that, and we'll, he'll work out.
Y'all can work it out, and you got time, like he said, it's probably 4 to 8 weeks
weeks.
before you'd ever get there.
So what I would suggest is this, that the process in justice court gets started when one of our staffers executes an affidavit and presents that to the justice court judge as a nuisance violation. So what we can do is ask our staff to withhold the filing and presentation of an affidavit for a period of at least, 15 days from today, to give the parties an opportunity. We can check back on day 15, have y'all got it resolved or not? And if the answer to that is, no, we hadn't got it resolved, then at that point, the staff needs to move forward with the affidavit.
Y'all
Is that-
understand that?
Is everybody
You good
clear
with
that that's what we will do? There'll be
I'd
a
like to see y'all get this
15-day
worked out.
delay.
There's nobody gonna win in this whole deal, so I hope y'all can get it worked out.
Okay.
So, yeah.
15 days.
All right, so, Mr. Slade, do we need to do any kind of amendment to that, or just advise
No, so
the
that's
building?
just instructions
Okay.
to your staff about how we're gonna handle the logistics.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you, guys. Mr. Slade, item number 4 on the agenda.
Unless y'all just wanna sit here for the rest, y'all are welcome to leave.
So, Mr. President, we're gonna close that public hearing that you may have. I'm just making sure the record reflects that.
I don't know what I did, to be
Okay.
honest with you.
Item 4 is a continuation of our Old Pearson Road Mobile Home Park nuisance property. This is at Peggy Drive, District 1. So we will recontinue or reconvene that public hearing on Old Pearson Road. I'm not sure if anybody's here. There we go. Yes, sir. Come on. If you'll come forward, please, and we'll get a quick follow-up.
Good morning.
Guthrie, 129 Star Rexon Road. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
You a pro at it now, aren't you?
Yes, sir, yes,
You know
sir.
just what to do.
Well, we're working with you guys, doing whatever y'all and they need us to do, so we're just continuing to work on it, and get it done and all like that. This one trailer where you see of the trash there is one of the tenants that the yard was trashy, and I told him, I said, look, get your crap cleaned up or get out. They jumped up and left out and left the trailer in the trash there, so I've got it on the trailer, gone,
Is that your trailer, his trailer?
my trailer. They left it for me. They left the inside, that was the inside of the house.
He loaded it and left it with you.
No, I loaded it.
Oh.
He left it all in the house and in the yard. They just got what they wanted and
And left.
left. So I had to load it up and get it, all cleaned up and everything.
What's the deal with the trailer then?
It's going to the landfill. We just got it strapped down, got it loaded and everything like that.
No,
and it-
the trailer itself.
That's actually a little office trailer. It's not anything that nobody's living in it or anything like that. We had discussed possibly moving it out. They said they didn't see a problem with it being an office trailer, nobody was living in it. It's just an older office trailer, but it's what
I'd be
you guys
surprised it
would.
meet standard too. Looks pretty rough.
I do have a question though, Mr. Guthrie, did y'all purchase this? So,
Yeah, we did. We actually
Mr.
did.
Mar-
Mr.
Marshall
Tatum is
needs
no
to
longer
know.
involved in it.
Wait, so
We've set it.
y'all own the whole thing now?
Yes, sir. We have satisfied all the obligations with Mr. Tatum. He is no longer involved in it. It is between us and Mr. Luckett now.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Marshall needed to know
So
that.
this
Yes,
is a
yes, sir.
continuation, so anything you want to do, continue it, or?
Yeah, we're gonna continue.
Would you like that one gone? I mean, it's
No, Wayne,
actually like a
aren't
travel
we-
trailer.
wait. I think, aren't we to now start looking?
We're doing the
We're step at a
individual.
time?
We
So
are.
that we'd
We are.
And I think
We're about halfway through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
All right.
this would just be.
All right, so
we'd
that was
continue.
this is an update then. So we'll close
Yes,
the
sir.
public hearing. Mr. Morrison make a motion to continue another 60 days, or you put a time frame to come back, or is it, or you gonna let them set the?
Well, Dwayne, what do you,
Can we just monitor it, and that way, Mr. Guthrie don't have to keep coming back, and if we have an issue, then we can bring it back before the board?
Are you okay with
Well,
that? or
call
do you
me
want
and
something
like I say-
pending?
as long
That
as
way-
they're in a point, they can pull the trigger if they need to.
Yes, sir.
Right.
I just don't, you're on a
Yes, sir.
great path.
Yes, sir.
I don't want you to take the left lane.
No, sir, no, sir. Like I say, it had been years and now that we're, like I say, we spent thousands of dollars and
Yeah.
man hours and
Yeah.
so
Oh,
we're,
look.
we're gonna continue to keep it
And
the way
I
it is.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes, sir,
Thank
yes,
you.
sir.
Okay, so we will continue to monitor, and then the way we're leaving it, Mr. Guthrie, is If our staff sees that there needs to be another one of these revisiting before the board, they will notify you and they'll notify us and we'll get it back on the
Okay.
docket. Otherwise,
And-
just keep doing your thing.
Okay, and they have my number, so if they see an issue, they're more welcome to just call me directly and say, hey, I happen to see that, take care of it.
I'm right down the road from you, I passed by.
Okay.
Right, so you've seen what we're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much. Mr. Slate, we didn't do anything else on that?
No,
Or-
sir, there's nothing else to do.
Okay, perfect. All right, Mr. Dwayne. Anything else under nuisance hearings, item 6?
No, sir.
Okay, item 7, next meeting held on 28 July, 9 a.m. Entertain a motion to adjourn under item number 8.
I'll make a motion to drop.
So a motion to adjourn by Mr. Calhoun,
Second.
second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with light signs. We are adjourned. So we'll call the Rankin County Board of Supervisors meeting to order. We'll begin under item number 5 under public comments, but while we got Dr. Burns up here, I may just start right there. Dr. Burns, I know you just sat down, but I may call you up for just a few public comments first. I know you mentioned you want to say a few things. Just a second.
Yes, sir, I would. Most of the times when people come here, they got a problem, they want to fuss. Just like I was, as 46 years as an educator, I had very few people drop around and say, hey, everything's going good, we appreciate what's happening. So I want to take a few minutes to say some things that on my heart, and I want to thank the Rankin County Board of Supervisors for their leadership as we continue to grow and prosper. I'm going to put my glasses on. When I watch y'all do business, I'm proud to be a Rankin County person. And when I watch other like boards some of the time conduct their business, this is my reaction. Not everybody does it as well as y'all do, so thank you. I want to thank y'all for several different things that you do that make Rankin County, in my opinion, the most desirable place to live in Mississippi. Number one, and I've said this before y'all, the most basic instinct that any of us have is to feel safe. We in Rankin County feel safe, and that starts with your leadership by providing the money necessary for all these other people to do their job. Also, we have a business-friendly climate. Many businesses are relocating or branching out in Rankin County. All the major hospitals are branching out in Rankin County, more and more facilities. We've seen many people like Mississippi Sports Medicine, Central Orthopedic, Jackson Heart, and many others who are moving to Rankin County. Why are they moving to Rankin County? Because we have a low unemployment rate and there are jobs everywhere. I want to also thank you for what you've done for Hines Community College with Allied Health Center, with the funding that y'all have done with that. This branch in Pearl is going to bring many, many jobs to Rankin County. I think at one of our meetings the other day, and several of you were in there, that there's a shortage of over 8,000 nurses in Mississippi right now. There are many, many more jobs that are going to be trained at Allied Health Center that are going to benefit Rankin County, Central Mississippi, and Mississippi. And the leadership that y'all have undertaken and with our legislators has really been helpful for that. As these students are being taught in Pearl, they're going to be in classrooms in Pearl, but they're going to do on-the-job training in our area. And these are going to lead to future job openings in Rankin County and Central Mississippi. And when they are training here and working here, guess what's going to be the next step that many of them take, especially in light of our gas prices? More and more people are going to want to live near where they work. Gone are the days of traveling from Route 2 Bogachita, where I live, to Jackson for a job 70 miles later one way every day, 5 days a week. You'd be spending more money on gas than you would making in a lot of places. So with that is going to bring more opportunities for us because you're going to be looking at more and more people moving here. We're in this sweet spot for the health field. Just think about each of us. When I was 60, I had 2 doctors. I'm almost 77. I can't tell you how many doctors I have. It's a bunch of them. So as we do that, we're going to be more and more in that sweet spot because most job openings for the future are going to come in the health field because as we get older, we have more and more problems. Rankin County again is in the sweet spot because we have land available for people to build houses. More and more people are going to come to Rankin County for the same reason that my wife and I came here 20 years ago. It's a very good spot to live. But as we grow, and y'all also have done along with the state of Mississippi and others, to build many, many roads that are connecting Rankin County more from the north to the south, south to the north, east to west. And people are moving around more and more, and it's going to mean more and more platted subdivisions. You're going to have, how long is it going to be before we reach 200,000 population? Not going to be long, folks. It's not going to take 2 decades. It may happen this next 10 years from now. We may have 200,000. So with that, we're going to have more and more building, more expansion, but along with that, when we have all these buildings and everything taking place, guess what happens? Water needs more places to run off. And with this runoff, this is my challenge to you for the future. I'm going to give you high marks for what you've done in the past. But I'm going to say, please continue to look at the watershed, the Rankin County watershed. Look at Mill Creek, flooding. Mr. Cross, you know, I saw you working several years ago when we received 9 inches of rain. If we continue to have population growth and all, where's the water going to go? It's got to go someplace. I know you've been doing some studying on it, on what to do about water and where it goes. My challenge to you right now is prepare Rankin County, not just the districts now that have a lot of platted subdivisions, because guess what? All of you are going to have platted subdivisions because the population is coming to Rankin County. My challenge to you, and it's not a challenge, I know you'll do what is your duty and responsibility, is to go forward as quickly as you can on this watershed and stop future flooding and runoff. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
All right, continuing on public comments, we've got some comments regarding Palo Verde subdivision. Mr. Mike Manning is here to speak. I know we've got several people from Palo Verde, so Mr. Manning, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in. And,
Thank you.
If you would, also, when you start, I'll tell you what, I'll start you out just for a second, just so the board kind of knows and puts us back into the Palo Verde area.
Sure.
This is in Countryside Subdivision off North Shore Parkway. This was some areas where we've had some issues with the road and development on the back side of Countryside, so the Palo Verde. So I know several weeks ago we were in here with, our last meeting. We've had Mr. Joe Edwards come in on the road issues on the backside.
Phase one,
And then
phase two.
Phase one,
Right.
phase two, those issues. We've had tremendous damage to the roadways out there. And I know this is what I discussed. I wanted to get them up to speed,
Sure.
kind of where we're talking about. So, Mr. Mann, again, thanks for coming in, and you can have the floor. So,
Thank you, thank you. I've just got a few comments, shouldn't be too long, but some specific talking points here that I wanted to share. And I've invited whoever in our neighborhood could come today, and I want to thank them for coming here
Sure.
and supporting this issue that we're having. As Daniel said, I'm Mike Manning. First, I'd like to thank the board for all of the civil service that you do for our county. I think we all live here because we love Rankin County, and we've made it our home. I've lived and worked in Rankin County for over 30 years. First, I moved here with my family as a young boy back in 1970 and moved into Rankin County in 1994. My wife and I have 2 kids. They were both born here in Rankin County, in Brandon. My daughter's a recent graduate from Mississippi State. She's now attending UMC and PT school. My son is a senior at Northwest Rankin, where he plays baseball.
And won a state championship, by the way.
Exactly.
Sorry,
I was
just
going to touch on
had
that, Mr.
drop
Cross.
that, Mr. Slay. Sorry about that.
Uh,
So we got some Brandon guys around us here, so I kind of.
Oh, okay. I understand the crowd.
Just a smidgen.
Want to thank you for recognizing those boys, and my son's Peyton, of course, and their achievement there. I have also worked for the federal government for over 36 years. I am a physical scientist for the U.S. Geological Survey, and I'm also a professional geologist within the state of Mississippi. Just a little bit about my background. We built a home in 2009 in Palo Verde, in Part 2. One of the first lots there. Our lot is in Lot 4. And we moved in 2010, and since that time, I've witnessed and viewed all of the several homes that have developed and built out through the area. Somewhere around 2014, the roads began to crack, break up, where we had to have patchwork done here and there. And as the construction continued, this condition has deteriorated even worse, month by month. The homes in our area, they're on 2-acre estate lots, and they range anywhere from $500,000 to well over $1 million. To jump right into the topic here, I have printed off for the board to review and keep at their discretion, pass out photographs of our road.
Sure. I think most of them seen them, but absolutely.
I would like to share that with you guys. Now, over this time frame, these 6 or 7 years, we've had numerous repairs, uncountable. This ranges from actually red clay sand being spread out, box blades to cover the holes. Some of these holes and trenches were 2 to 3 feet deep, created by dump trucks hauling pad dirt into our area. There is no construction entrance, so all of these heavy equipment has to come in through the North Shore Parkway. We now have currently limestone rock that is spread out over the roads in several locations. And at one time, about 3 or 4 years ago, I'm not specific on the time frame of this, the roads became impassable where Palo Verde starts at Countryside. When I mean impassable, one of the loads from a dump truck actually got stuck. My wife was coming home from work and was unable to get to my home.
And I'm gonna stop you just for 2 seconds.
Yes,
on,
sir.
on that same issue right there. Board came in and declared an emergency and went in and does an immediate patchwork. We had vehicles stuck, road was destroyed.
Sheriff's Department was there.
Absolutely, the whole crew. We put everybody in there, and I believe that was coming into a weekend time frame, Thursday, Friday, or whatever. But the dump trucks coming in from the back part of the developments had totally destroyed everything that was there to the front, right? So I know we came in and declared an emergency on that
Yes, sir.
issue and went from that route. So I just want to mention, we came in and we're on top of that as soon as it happened. So
That's right.
Yeah,
And we recovered all expenses that were incurred by
Correct.
county taxpayers from the individuals
That
who
caused it.
caused the
Yep,
damage.
absolutely. Yep.
Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you.
Yep.
Before that time, the road that is one of the tangent roads past my home there at Lot 4, Del Rio and Durango have also had immense damage. Now, I believe it's Durango Drive at one point about 4 or 5 years ago. That road was completely dug up and underfillment, sand was put down, packed, and that road was topped with tar and then with crushed limestone, which still is holding up to this day fairly well, even though seeing that there had been 4 or 5 homes built down that road itself that is a dead-end road. Like I said before, the road has become completely impassable. I know at one point after some of the patchwork, my wife walks a good bit. She has tripped on the uneven asphalt and fallen. Luckily, she was not hurt. Frustrated, of course. But it's hard to go for a pleasant walk in our neighborhood this morning. The slag is just, you can't walk upon it. You can't ride bikes on it. people in our neighborhood just can't enjoy our area. I know myself, going to work in the morning, I like to have a cup of coffee. I cannot even attempt to sip my coffee until I get on North Shore. And that's frustrating if you know how you like to drink your coffee as you leave your home. Mowing our yards is extremely dangerous because if you'll look at some of these pictures, you'll see the debris, the slag, the asphalt debris, the rocks that are big as softballs in our yards. We all have these powerful zero-turn mowers, and you can just expect this debris was to somehow be slung out. There's damage to cars or even a pedestrian. Could potentially happen. Let's hope that this does not. But this is just part of the ongoing experiences that we're having in Palo Verde. When the asphalt's laid down, sometimes it's done with a tractor and just spread out, sometimes just run over. I know in front of my house personally, within that 100, 200 foot of frontage that I have, it's been overlain probably 6 or 7 times. Actually, my driveway was above the initial surface, preparing for the overlayment for the final surface, and now my driveway is about 4 inches under the asphalt. So there is a big dip there, of course, the drainage. The road really has no defined edges. It just seems to be growing out in patches. There's no defined edge to the road. Each time the road work is repaired, the asphalt's a little wider, it gets a little further into our yards. Honestly, there's no way to keep a clean vehicle in our neighborhood, regardless. Because as soon as it rains or if it's dry, the dust in our houses, back to when the red sand was put out, my driveway turned red. We park in our garage with our vehicles, keep everything inside. The red sand tracked into the garage with the cars and the tires, and eventually into our home. I invite you to actually come out and drive through our neighborhood when you can. I'll cook you a hamburger if you come to my house.
All right.
I'd say I'd cook you a steak, but with today's prices, I don't think I can do all that. But you're more than welcome to come to our neighborhood, and please do, so that you can experience this, because photos and explanations I do just do not attempt to address this problem. And this isn't just a month problem. This has been going on for years. 6, 7 years. Like I said, I've lived there for 12, and I know all of my fellow neighbors are experiencing the same frustration.
Didn't we get this, didn't we
Yeah,
resolve this?
Well, portions of it. So, and I totally agree everything you said, and everything you said is very accurate and correct. And I've been out there numerous times, on countless occasions, back and forth.
You and I have talked over the phone?
Tons. So I know we've put some time and effort in the same site. So what I'm gonna try to do is explain to you where the county comes in and where the developer comes in from the same point on our legal ability to be able to go and finish it. Obviously, as things begin to grow up, and I know Mr. Slade's gonna put this in a lot better picture than what I'm gonna be able to do. But the development side, there's 2 phases kind of that's there, and they're maybe discussing the phase 3, which the board hadn't even gone down that road. So the phase 2 is still under Mr. Edwards' domain and responsibility. It hasn't been turned over to the county, right? When we've had some of the massive construction that's happened on some of the haulings and work that's gone on, we probably got outside of our lane a little bit, but I wanted to be sure that we had the roads passable where you guys could get to your homes. So we brought our trucks in, and we probably got outside of Mr. Slade's direction, and I went on to that private side of things and tried to smooth things out as best I could, because the county hadn't taken responsibility for that section of it, right? We had Mr. Edwards in last week wanting to do some stuff, and we had numerous conversations with him trying to get him to finish up the development phase of that road, to put the final surface wear down, to be sure that was properly installed. That all falls upon the developer side of it before the county takes responsibility of it. So the areas that we can work on is that phase 1 section of it, to where we know we've got to do some things that are there. And we're going to do some things here very shortly. That's not going to fix the phase 2 section of it, kind of where they join and meet, almost right there in front of your house is where it really, phase 1 goes to phase 2. So we're going to do some things on the phase 1 as much as we can. Yeah. Right now, we're probably fixing to get into a legal battle with Mr. Edwards regarding the phase 2. He came in a week or 2 ago to have some discussions on that stuff. We're going to do our due diligence on that point to try to force hands into getting that fixed up. It's his responsibility as a developer, not the builders around it, but as a developer, for that road going in. The county's gonna do our part to hold him accountable to those sides of that. But the county can't go into that private property side and put the roads down into a phase the developer is supposed to do. right?
Part two, is that the part that you're referring to?
Phase two, the correction side of that,
Phase
yep.
two.
Yep. And I think that's kind of where we're at on everything. So what we're trying to do is hold that developer accountable to do his portions of the roadway side of that, right? So I know.
The construction entrance has been changed too.
Well,
or-
he suggested that. He suggested now that he was gonna create, one of the things I'll tell you what he was wanting to do. When he came in last week, or 2 weeks ago, whenever the last board meeting was, he was wanting to sell some additional lots in the back, right? But he can't do that without coming in here and altering his original plat. So, Mr. Slade, if I get messed up, shut me down.
So far, so good.
So he's got to amend his original plat to sell some additional lots right in the back. Well, to do that, he's got to come in front of the board to change the plats. The board's not going to entertain any changing of plats until he handles his responsibilities that he's already under on that same side. So by doing that, there's no other additional work that's going to happen. Now, one of the things he suggested on doing was what Mr. Calhoun mentioned, was create a construction entrance back through Church Road that ties back into it or whatever. We had that conversation. We're still not ready to move on those additional lots because we're going to require him to go to the bank and secure money to finish Phase 2's roadways. So until we get a letter of credit in hand from him originally, or to move on, we're not taking any other action on changing plats or amending anything or making any other kind of adjustments. He's got to meet his responsibilities that he's under as a developer in that section, right? So there's going to be no other action taken on that point. The bad part of that is that makes the road in a bad condition, right? We know it was torn up 3, 4, 5 years ago with the trucks come in and out. That's kind of when we went out and tried to smooth out as best we can. I had Mr. Harrison extend really past where that phase was to be sure. We had cars stuck on the road. I mean, it was an absolute nightmare. And we knew we had rain coming, and it was going to be absolutely worse than that. So we tried to put some rock down and tried to smooth it down as best we could using funds that we picked up from the person that tore it all up, right, just to kind of get it right. That's Mr. Edwards' civil responsibility, which is a whole different thing from the county side of that. So we're going to put pressure on that side to get it done right because we know that's a development side. But the county hasn't taken possession of that phase section of road. It still falls on that developer side. Now, the legal side of that, I'll let Mr. Slade kind of expand on that, on how that falls back into Mr. Edwards' lap, and if you have civil grounds to him from that side. But from the county's perspective, the law's pretty strict on what we can do. It's not a funding issue for the board. It's not a willingness to do it. It's just a straight legal issue. If we can extend to where we can go, we'll put county tax dollars on it. But we can only do what the law has it. The sheriff wouldn't like me in Orange. I wouldn't make it. He'd have to put me on like protective watch, I imagine, or something like that. But we can't break the law, is what I'm trying to tell you on that. So it falls in that parameter. So I'm gonna let Mr. Slade kind of clean up what I said and tie it in probably a little bit better understanding.
You covered everything. I will add that the county's interest, obviously, is that if there is going to be additional development activity, that we know exactly what the impact to the public sections of the roads is first, and then to another degree, what will be the impact on the phases of Palo Verde that are not yet public and are still the developer's responsibility. And Mr. Edwards is going to be responsible to satisfy this board that he is prepared to take account and take control over all of those issues to the county's satisfaction before any additional development activity is approved. The condition of Palo Verde, the streets of Palo Verde Phase 2 is still Mr. Edwards' responsibility. And here's the hard reality that we're dealing with. At a point in time when Palo Verde Phase 1 came online, that is the lots were sold to a sufficient percentage, and the board at that time, which I believe goes back to
before this board,
like 06, 07 time frame, if I recall. So we're talking about 15 to 20 years ago. That board at that time made a decision, right, wrong, or indifferent, to accept Palo Verde Phase 1 as public streets. And so we inherited Palo Verde Phase 1, and they are ours, and we have to deal with them. And the reality is that at that point in time, the way that we handled development activity was not nearly as stringent as we handle it today. And the condition of the streets of Palo Verde Phase 1 were such that they are not capable of standing up under significant development activity. You put an 80,000-pound dump truck on Palo Verde Phase 1, and it's coming apart. It absolutely is going to come apart. And the reason for that is that Mr. Edwards and Mr. Edwards' construction people and Mr. Edwards' engineer did not properly construct those streets. And the ship has sailed. We do not have the ability to deal with that reality as it relates to Mr. Edwards. He got away with it. We inherited it, and so we have the responsibility now of trying to maintain Palo Verde Phase 1 streets. And the way we're going to do that is Mr. Edwards is not going to bring construction traffic across the streets of Palo Verde Phase 1 until we're satisfied that they can handle that construction traffic, which may mean he gets to dig them up and start over. If he wants to build in Phase 3 and come through Phase 1 and 2 to get there, or he better find him another way, which is a construction entrance off a church. And that keeps the construction traffic off of Phase 1 and Phase 2, and hopefully will allow those streets to be able to withstand some of the regular passenger vehicle traffic. And at some point, we will be in a position where we can say, as it relates to Phase 2 streets, we're satisfied now with the condition of them. We're satisfied that Mr. Edwards is ready and authorized to install the wearing surface, which still hasn't been done. And then we can move on as it relates to Phase 1, Phase 2, Countryside Drive. All of that can just come right back into our normal process, and he will have to route construction traffic for Phase 3 and beyond some other way than across those streets once we get them like we want to. But this is the limit of our ability at this point. We are going to hold Mr. Edwards accountable, or he simply will not be allowed to develop additional properties.
So we're kind of landlocked.
Yeah,
We're kind of,
hold on 1 second. I'll let you go in just a second. So, yes, sir.
so we're kind of locked at this point.
We're in a mess. There's no question about it. And we're going to try to find a way to navigate our way through it for the best outcome for everybody. We want the roads done. We want the housing and all to be in good standing, look good. We don't want property values down. We don't want any of that kind of stuff like that. So I understand. So we're taking action on that same point. That's why he was in here 2 weeks ago or whatever, that same point. And our crews are going to stay up on that. If this turns into a litigation issue from the county's perspective to Mr. Edwards, then that's going to be the direction our team goes. We're totally aware of what's going on. That's the main thing I want to tell you. And we're going to take action to figure it out. I don't have the perfect solution yet because I don't know if this is going to a litigation side. He left us with the perspective of going to deal with his bank and letters of credit.
The ball is
getting
in
the money.
Mr. Edwards' court.
So he's got a certain time frame that he's got to come back to us and make some decisions. On that Phase 1 side of that, it's not in there correctly. We know we're going to do work on Phase 1, but we don't want to get ahead of our headlights and do too much work on Phase 1 when it's not going to tie into the Phase 2 the right way. We know we're going to take care of Phase 1. That got passed over well before, that 06, 07, 08 time frame.
Is there a time frame set for that work to begin?
I don't want to put a time frame on it because I don't know how this is going to happen in the next 30 days in regards to his letters of credit from the banks and stuff like that.
Okay.
But if you can give me some time to get back where you can give you a game plan, we'll definitely do that. I don't have any good, I don't want to put numbers on it because I can't tell you what his bank tells him on what he's going to be able to do. Yep.
Right.
So I've got to get some, we've put some stuff in his court. He's got to respond back to us, and then the county, this board, has got to make a decision on how we move from that point.
I understand the process,
Yep.
and thank you.
Yes, sir.
That clears up a lot of questions I think we all have,
Yep.
and where it stands, that I'm sure many folks were unaware, just secluded from the situation
Yep.
and the discussions that's been ongoing.
It's been a fight since
But
I've been
like
in
I
office
said-
for 7 years, for sure.
For 7 years.
Yep.
Yeah, for 7 years.
No question about it.
Well, and doesn't make it any better, but it's not just an isolated situation. We have to deal with some of these same in other areas too. So you're not just isolated. It's unfortunate, but it is.
And I do appreciate you,
But the
Mr.
law
Manning,
gets
coming in, for
involved
sure.
in legalities, like Daniel's saying, and the attorney's saying, that we can only do certain things in certain steps.
Right.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Cross and I have had several conversations
Oh, yeah.
over the phone.
Sure.
We've discussed this, and he's explained some of this over the phone with me in general, you know.
It's
I
hard.
don't,
I
I
know
don't
it's
really
hard
want to
to
get
do. I
into
know.
the litigation and
Yeah.
things that's going on with
Yeah.
the developer in the county. That's
Yeah.
not my presence here,
Right.
so I want to make that
Well, and I
perfectly clear.
appreciate you coming in, sharing the views of it. And anybody else from Countryside, I'm going to give you a few minutes if you want to say something to follow up on Mr. Manning.
I've just got a few more bullet points to cover real quickly, here, about
Okay.
2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
So now that we've kind of laid out the conditions and the, you know, what we're going through and the time frame and that sort of thing, my biggest concern here is safety. in my honest opinion, this has become a serious safety issue to the homeowners in Palo Verde. And I've just got 4 bullet points here that I want to share. Of course, I talked about the debris in the yards with the mowers and that being a hazard. You know, I'm sure everyone has these maybe hazards and things they deal with, but it's a big concern of mine as I've heard rocks hit my house and I'm just like on pins and needles that, you know. And of course, we talked about our home values being affected. That's not actually a safety issue. But it's one of my biggest concerns that since the roads have become, at times, impassable, but they have been repaired, that emergency services may not be available to get into our homes when needed. About a year ago, my wife had to call 911 for me. I became unconscious in our bedroom. And they responded immediately. Luckily enough, they were able to get in, you know. But if this condition were to happen at some odd time and someone were to have that need, immediate need, it's my concern that those services won't be available at the speed that they would need to be given. I was transported by ambulance to St. Dominic's that night. And of course, I'm fine. As you can see, I'm here today, very blessed. I know my wife's experienced a damaged rim on her Tahoe that cost $600 that was damaged in the neighborhood. I haven't mentioned that to you or anyone else, but that, of course, is not really a safety issue. But I just want to follow up and say that, you know, I appreciate the board allowing us to come out and state this problem and talk about this issue in person. And I'm asking you today, all of the members, that you discuss this among yourselves and help us, because we're here pleading with you to please help us. We would like for you to vote and do anything that you can to implement any funding that's available to get any part of our neighborhood, Part 1, the entrance to Countryside, addressed immediately. Whether that be funding available, any emergency funding that may be available, so that we can get this addressed. And there is a construction entrance. It's through the woods that goes to Church Road. It's there. For what reason it's never been used, I have no idea. I have no knowledge of that. But it is available.
Sure.
So in saying that, the road will have to be removed because it is straight on clay. I say that because I've watched the county dig it up in front of my driveway, and it is Yazoo clay. It's from the Zephyr Formation. It has blue streaks in it like you see in any of the Yazoo clay formations. And it's right on top of the asphalt. So coming in with a 1-inch layered coat that would last for a month or so is not going to work.
And that doesn't meet our county standards either. I think it's 6. Mr. Harris, what's our asphalt? 6 inches, yep. So.
And I have some photos there that actually show the county digging it up, and there's blue clay right up under the asphalt.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't get it off my boots. I was standing.
Anybody surprised?
Exactly. You've experienced it.
Anybody surprised by that? Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Manning. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
your
much.
comments.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you for your time.
I know I had somebody in the back. Yes, sir.
Hey, Mr. Manning.
Your pictures.
You said that you weren't going to let.
Just come forward.
Mr. Manning.
Yeah,
Mr. Manning.
Yeah, if you would.
You said you weren't gonna let Joe Edwards
Hey, if you would introduce yourself.
Joe Clinton.
Yes, sir.
You said you weren't gonna let Joe do anything else, but yet they've built a house back there that wasn't in a plat off the property. So, you know, he's basically thumbed his nose at y'all and said, you know, we're gonna build a house back here that's not platted.
Right.
Come through there, tore the roads up. That's probably where they got refunded. But, I mean, you know, like Mike said, from that standpoint, you know, a time frame, it's not our fault
Sure.
that you accepted phase 1 inadequate. That's
Correct.
not the homeowner's
Correct.
fault. You know, it is our fault now that we're having to have 4-wheel drive trucks to get through mud out there. And every year when I get my property value, I know it's going down. My realtor tells me it's going down, but they ain't taxing me less.
Right.
It's steadily going up. So, you know, from that standpoint, you know, the time frame, I mean, is this going to be, it's been going on for 7 years. I'm not going to put up with it for 7 more years. You wouldn't put up with it if it was in your road, in your neighborhood.
Sure.
So, I mean, what's the time frame here?
Yeah,
I mean, we can't just continue to kick the can down the road.
Yeah, and that's what I'm telling you today. We're not kicking the can down the road. We're going to take action on this side if we have to sue someone or take whatever kind of litigation we have. We don't have the legal authority to go into phase 2. So
I understand
that's what
that.
you got to understand at the same point. So we're not pumping tax dollars in the road that's private property right now, which is what that is. So from that development side, that responsibility falls back on the developer, not the builder, some people around it, but the developer itself. So we're going to take the right legal actions to proceed forward into that mode, right? So, and I get it. It's an awful road. It's all tore up on the same side, and I don't have anybody's fingers to point at, 'cause I'm not pointing them at anybody.
Right.
But we're going to take our proper actions to be sure we get it corrected as best we can, but we're going to do it in the legal form.
Right.
So,
Well, I understand that, but phase one is not his responsibility.
That's
Phase
correct.
one is the responsibility of this board
that's
right there.
correct. And we're going to take action on phase one.
All right.
Yeah.
We're not going to spend better part of $2 million to fix phase one, only to have Joe Edwards run loaded dump trucks over the top
And
of
destroy
it
it, right.
without some measure of
We've got to be on the
protection.
right plan, so, hang on, Mr. Mayor. Yes, sir.
A quick question.
Come up if you can, if you don't mind. Sorry about that. The reason we asked you to speak on the mic, everything goes on our record. So I
Yeah.
need you, if you would introduce yourself to the
Yeah.
board.
Bill Cleveland, I live on Durango.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. Some of this is going to be helpful because we can take information back to
Sure.
our neighbors. So do I understand perhaps that the board's going to take a look at what happens from this day forward in terms of development or construction?
We've already done that.
There's a lot that's been cleared on the corner of Del Rio and Plantation. It's ready to build. But are we, am I understanding that there will be no home constructed on that property until you guys have figured this out with
So that's
Joe
probably
Edwards?
going to be Garantano's
Yeah.
lot for his daughter, okay? Some of this is resolutions of the prior damage where there has been an authorization given and one address issued for construction of a house. I don't know if this is the lot you're talking about or not, but we don't want to make a representation here that there won't be any additional construction activity because there is an address issued and it is a part of Palo Verde Phase 2 that's already platted and doesn't have to be amended. Okay, so there are some potential construction activities that could go on. One way that we would be helped here is for the residents in Palo Verde especially to be vigilant, to let us know when they see dump truck traffic coming through phase one or phase two. If you see a dump truck and it's loaded, make sure that either Mr. Harrison or somebody here at the board office is made aware of that. We need you guys to be eyes and ears to help us police some of that activity. It shouldn't surprise anyone that from time to time, we will have dirt haulers who will simply take an agreement to provide dirt for a house pad and not check up to see whether or not there's been an address issued, not check up to see whether or not there's a building permit, not to check up to see whether or not the developer has settled up with all issues of the county. He's not interested in any of that stuff. He's just going to haul dirt.
And let me add what Mr. Slay's saying on that. The county doesn't have a permit required before a pad's built, right? So until the construction process begins, which is slab and that type of work like that, if someone's clearing a lot or preparing it or something like that, we're not made aware of it because there's no regulation requiring them to clear a lot and acquire a permit. So a lot of this stuff happened without the county knowing. He was operating inside a lot of those plats that was already filed. So a lot of that stuff happened and occurred, and the county wasn't made aware that, hey, they're going to be clearing lots because they don't have to notify us on that.
We've already made Mr. Edwards aware that he has a number of responsibilities, a number of contingencies that he must satisfy before he conducts additional development activity. My intention, with the board's permission, is to also let somebody like a Mr. Garantano, who we know will buy the lots from Mr. Edwards at some point, and start building houses, to make sure he understands. No dump trucks coming through these roads until we are satisfied and settled that there is security and collateral for the roads. Yes, ma'am. The dump trucks are a recurring theme. We can get them shut down for a day, and they'll show back up later. That's why we need your help. Ma'am? Yeah. Yeah, so we fight this battle pretty consistently, and that's where you guys can help us. If we know about the dump truck hauling activity, we can intervene. There's limitations on that, but we can intervene. But keep in mind, some of these roads that they're hauling up and down on are public roads, okay? But not all of them are.
What about the construction road you mentioned? Are they gonna be using it, or are they still gonna be using phase one and phase two roads?
The ball is in Mr. Edwards' court. He has been told that if he intends to build additional houses in phase two amended or phase three or whatever other phases he has in mind, the only route that will be available to him for construction traffic is a route that goes from Church Road to those lots.
So we really don't expect any more dump trucks coming through phase one?
At this point, the county's position is no additional activity unless it's going through a construction entrance that does not impact anything, any road that gets to Palo Verde from North Shore Causeway. Any road. I don't want anything. Countryside Drive, Plantation Boulevard, any of the streets in phase one, any of the streets in phase two. I don't want any more construction traffic. I want it all coming from Church.
And look, to add to that, Mr. Slay, I believe that'll also come through our permit department, right? So our permit department, as it regulates the building of houses or anything else that's going on in the construction side, that's where our building office will develop, whether they stop a permit, stop the growth or being the process of those houses. So that's, I guess that's kind of ties that back into what you're saying on that same.
There are some lots that are a part of the current phase two Palo Verde plat that have not been constructed upon. And it is possible that Mr. Edwards will make a very bad decision to go ahead and move those lots, because he doesn't need additional authority to sell those lots. Those have already been platted. He may decide unwisely that he's gonna go ahead and sell those lots. And he could sell those to a construction person that doesn't know about all of the issues that Mr. Edwards has created for himself with this board. And they may unwittingly, for themselves, decide that they're going to use whatever route they want to use because they don't know that there needs to be a different route. Okay? So I don't want everybody to assume when they leave out of here that we've got everything under control as it relates to construction traffic. That may not be the case.
Okay. Yes, sir. Introduce
John
yourself.
Woods, live on Plantation.
Yes, sir.
Joe doesn't own any more lots. You keep talking about Joe may run a dump truck in there. Mr. Girantano owns 4 of the remaining lots, and then the other 2 owned by individuals. So it's not Edwards that would run a
Well,
truck. It's Mr.
Edwards is
Girantano.
responsible for the streets because he's the developer.
I agree with that. I'm just saying he's talking about if Mr. Edwards unwisely brings a truck in there. It's not Mr. Edwards.
Right, but Mr. Edwards is responsible for the roads that they're hauling them
I
on.
agree.
So
You
for
do
that- for where
realize
that
that
falls back.
Mr. Edwards owns about 155 acres that
I know
hasn't
he's
been.
152 and a quarter.
Yeah, so, he helped himself, to a lot that he carved out and sold to his
For his
daughter.
daughter, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we can't punish Joe because the lots have already been sold. They belong to Mr. Girantano.
They stay with
But-
Joe.
You can make Joe fix the roads.
Or
for
shut
sure.
down access into our county roads.
Exactly.
So that controls the lot building, which falls
Yeah.
back onto Mr. Edwards.
I know both those guys, and and I want everything everybody else wants, but I want to be fair about
Absolutely.
letting these guys know who's doing what.
Sure.
And Mr. Girantano's a friend of mine too, so he's just bringing in trucks to build on lots he already owns.
Right.
Which is the point.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
There could be some construction activity that goes on out there. Nobody should leave here under the impression that we know exactly what's going on. They could be lots that have already been sold.
They have been sold, yeah. Joe doesn't own any more lots that have been platted.
Yeah, he's just a developer responsible for the roads.
He's
in and
responsible for
out.
the roads.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. All right, thank you. Anything else on, yes, ma'am, come up, if you would.
First, good morning,
Good
and
morning.
thank you all for hearing our concerns.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Joanne Frazier. I live at 161 Plantation. And my first question is rather naive, but exactly where is phase 1 and where is phase 2?
Yeah, so I'd have to look at a plat to give you the exact area. It's gonna be close right there in front of Mr. Manning's house, and I don't have.
She lives in the end of phase 1.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know where your house is exactly.
There you go.
I have to see it on the
Yeah.
map, but I know Mr. Manning's got a more refresher memory of exactly where the line is. I'd have to go look at it
Okay.
again.
Also, what if Joe Edwards can't get a letter of credit from his bank because he doesn't have the money behind him to support it? Where does that leave us?
Very few options. The board would have to entertain a number of options, some of which include litigation. I'm not going to get into that publicly.
Certainly.
But yes, more than likely would end up in a lawsuit.
And that could drag on for years.
Yeah, it could. It could.
Okay. But at this point, you expect, not necessarily intend, but you expect them to use the construction entrance in the future, and yet, at this point, and I'm going to give you all my statement,
Sure.
which I won't read because it covers a lot of what Mike Manning has already covered.
Sure.
But there are still, for me to drive through, 6 huge literal piles of slag. And at this point, it's undrivable. You have to avoid all you can without getting in a neighbor's yard, because the people in Palo Verde take really nice care of their lawns.
Right.
And it's not fair to drive onto their grass to avoid a flat tire.
Sure.
Which, by the way, I had last year, and my husband, who had pancreatic cancer and was undergoing chemo, had to change my flat tire in the hot sun because of the road.
Sure.
I want to give you this.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't expect to read it,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I hope you all will. Okay, thank you.
All right. Hey,
And
what?
that's all I have to say, other than I know this is a complex issue. I love that the neighbors came out to help Mike Manning, who spearheaded this, get our point across to you all. But
Sure.
it's something that we live with 24/7, and it's a huge problem because we built homes that we intended to be forever homes and accomplished a lot of things we dreamed about all our lives.
Sure.
And it's turned into a nightmare.
It has. You're right.
Thank you all for hearing me.
Thank you for coming. And we're gonna do things in phase 1 as best we can to keep it as manageable as we possibly can. Mr. Manning, one last thing. I've got to move on to another thing.
One
So
last
yes,
thing,
sir.
and
Yes,
this will
sir.
take 30 seconds.
Yes,
So,
sir.
At the beginning of Countryside, there is a sign there that has been there for some time that says "No Trucks." It's overgrown a little
Yeah.
bit, so it's my understanding that the county has set that forth
Yeah.
12 years ago. No trucks.
I'll raise you one even better than that. We had a no truck ordinance and a policy. No haul. We had a haul
Before
haul
Part
bond.
1 and Part 2 was even developed.
And I got voted down on it. So on our haul bond policy. Remember, I don't remember when that was, but we lost the ability to enforce no truck routes in the county. So
Some
I'm
of the
with you.
signs
Those roads were
remain.
there. Yep.
The signs still remain. There is
Okay.
no legal authority to enforce that. at the
We
moment.
had an ordinance for that. and
Because
we
you were talking
lost
about
it.
no trucks.
And we lost it.
You're
Yep.
saying now, as to today, there should be no concrete trucks, no heavy hauling equipment.
We're gonna do
Yes.
our best to protect that phase 1 road that we know we've got to make some repairs to.
And do I need to inform you when I see these trucks coming into
You can,
there?
absolutely.
601.
I have his number.
He's got.
Believe me, I have.
I'm giving everybody else the number to call the road department directly in case Daniel is not available at that moment to receive a call. 601-824-2424. That is the number to contact the road department, and y'all can help us by letting us know if you see dump truck. Don't assume that that's Mr. Garantano's dump truck. Call and we'll go check it out. Okay?
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manning. Appreciate you.
Thank you for your
Yes,
time.
sir. All right, I'm going through my sign-in list right here on anyone else on the Palo Verde side, okay? All right, good. So moving on, under public comments, I've got, hang on one second. Let me put this together. I'm gonna do 2 different things, Mr. Slade. I'm gonna finish up the public comments, and then I'm gonna jump around to where we can deal with our public hearings. I know we have a lot of people that's been here for a long time this morning. Ms. Sadler. Ms. Sadler, Ms. Dixon, and Ms. Gray, are y'all here? Good morning. Come on up. I know y'all had a long morning. Good. If you would, and I'll let maybe one of y'all speak if that's okay, and just kind of tie it all together. But if you would, introduce yourself to the board, kind of mention what you're talking about. I know what we read on some emails, and then we can kind of get some discussion.
All right,
Good
so
morning.
I'm Sanaya Sadler.
I'm Taylor Gray. I'm Samantha Dixon.
Yep.
I'm Anna Toombs, and we had another member. Her name is Tristan Harris, but she couldn't be here today.
I thought she might have stayed and couldn't get through all this stuff we've been talking about. So, all right, go ahead.
So we brought a computer with us for our presentation. We don't really know how this works.
That's okay. Just tell us about it.
Okay, so we took a trip to Alabama in April, I believe, and we learned from the EGI, the Equal Justice Admission. And they told us about how there are memorials of lynching victims who were made for each of the counties in Mississippi. And so we learned that only Lafayette County were the only ones to accept their memorials. So we were trying to see if we could get Charles' approval to accept Rankin County's memorial, to honor these victims, give a voice to all the African Americans, and just have a unity.
Yeah, so when, I've read y'all's emails, and thank you for that, and thank you for taking the passion to move down this route. What I'd like to do, though, if it's okay with you guys, is have our legal people look at it, just kind of research it all, because obviously it's county property and all that kind of stuff like that, and get an overall plan on what we can legally do. And he may already have that in front of him. Sorry about that. See how good Mr. Slay is? So I'm going to let him talk so y'all can hear what he's got to say on the authority of that. Mr. Slay?
Yes, so thank you, ladies. And Ms. Harris, by the way, is the one who sent the email initially into the supervisors and kind of initiated this request. And so as I appreciated it, and I'm trying to recall exactly how Ms. Harris put that in the email, and y'all may have been a part of how she composed that, so I may be talking to you folks as well. But she was clearly the representative of the group. So, so she contacted us and said that the Equal Justice Initiative, which is housed in Montgomery, they have a museum complex, and they also have a memorial area that is adjacent to the museum complex. And it's within the memorial area that these markers are housed, and they're available for people to come and actually look. And so what they've done, the Equal Justice Initiative, what it has done is it's created a marker, or the possibility of a marker, for each county where there is a recordation of there having been some sort of racially motivated lynching of any kind. And so these counties are all across the United States, from the Deep South, but all the way out west. Colorado would have one, and Ohio would have one, and there's a number of states that are impacted by this. And the way that their program works is they are a privately funded, they work off donations primarily, but it's a privately funded entity, okay? So we would refer to that as a 501c3 organization. It's a private entity that receives contributions from folks. That's how they are able to pay for their staff and pay for the museum and pay for the markers and pay for everything, okay? So it's a privately funded deal. And so they make these markers available to the states and the counties where you have these activities where there's been a record kept. And according to the Equal Justice Initiative, for Rankin County, there is a record of 9 such incidents in our history, dating way back in time. These are documented to some degree, okay? And so Rankin County is eligible to have a marker placed at this privately funded location. We're eligible for that. And so the request that Ms. Harris made on y'all's behalf, and by the way, y'all are with Northwest Rankin High School, is that right? Yes, okay, so I want to get that on the record too. So these are high school kids. Good job, good job. So anyway, Ms. Harris's request was, could y'all look at the possibility of accepting Rankin County's marker? So we studied that. It's not an issue of want to, it's an issue of can they legally do that. And I stress that part about it being a private entity, because that's the critical key component here. So I reached out on behalf of the board to the Department of Archives and History, and I asked them, what do you know about this initiative? And they are familiar with it. And so the Department of Archives and History actually has a process where if you guys want to take on the responsibility, if y'all want to push this forward, these guys won't be the right place to start. The right place to start is the Department of Archives and History. And they actually have a process, it's in place, where you can make your requests through the Department of Archives and History, and they may have the legal authority to do it. These guys have to act with public money, right? So y'all won't be surprised to know that when the county needs money, it doesn't ask for donations. People don't want to donate to Rankin County, most of the time. We use a process to derive revenue for the county to be able to do what it does, fix roads, build bridges, build highways, take care of emergency response, fix streets and subdivisions that y'all got to hear about. We use taxpayer money to do that. And so we use ad valorem taxes, and they collect ad valorem taxes, and that's how we do what we do here. But that's public money. And so we can't legally hand public money to a private organization, especially one that's out of state, and ask them to take the public's money and do something that benefits a private organization. Does that make sense? But the Department of Archives and History is a state agency, and they get to do a lot of stuff that we can't do as a county. And so they do have a process. Unfortunately, on May 31st, I wrote Ms. Harris, but I didn't have an address. So I had to send my letter to the high school, and it's probably sitting there since she was already out of school by the time it got there. So Ms. Harris has this letter, it's just at the school, and my letter lays out what I just told you guys, and who to contact at the Department of Archives and History, and where to go to look for that information. And I think that you guys would be well served if you can get your hands on it. I've got this copy I'm going to give to y'all, okay? So this is my letter to Ms. Harris from about a month ago. I'm going to give it to y'all, and y'all run with it. And if you need any more help, we'll be glad to help you, okay? All right. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you, ladies,
Thank you.
and thank you for your initiative.
Yes, thank you.
All right, under public comments, I know I'm moving this around, but I've got one more I want to hit first. Mr. Robert Gilbert, are you here? Yes, sir. Come on up, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Gilbert. If you would, introduce yourself to the board and tell us what you got.
I'm Robert Gilbert. I have a major complaint. I've got property on Gilbert Circle, and I can't get anyone to open up a drainage ditch out there.
Okay.
I requested about a year ago for that to take place. When we have torrential rains out there, the water on the northeast end, which is the dead end of Gilbert Circle, the water backs up and goes across the street on the other side because of the ditch, the drainage is not deep enough to let it flow.
Okay.
The water is supposed to be flowing from northeast all the way down to the west end, and then there's a lower end there that goes across the road and then to a creek that goes south.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Are you in the city of Flo? I know you're right there on the line, right there on Luckney. Are you in the city, or are you?
Gilbert Circle, I think, is on Rankin County. It's on the Rankin County side.
Okay, it's on the county side. Because I know you're right there between Riverbend and where Henderson
No,
touches.
Gilbert Circle and Luckney Road there.
Yeah, but Riverbend cuts between Henderson. Luckney Road runs down, so you got Riverbend that runs off Luckney and Henderson, right?
Has no one ever?
I know you're off Luckney. I'm trying to find.
We've had someone out there before, but there's debris in that ditch, and which means that when debris falls, sometimes I'll clean it up. But what we need now is just somebody with equipment to open it up from the northeast side.
On the roadway?
Yeah, is this the ditch is on the road?
Gilbert Circle goes down into the.
Okay, but is the ditch you need to open up
on
along
Gilbert
the
Circle.
roadway?
On the county right
On
away.
the county right
It is.
Okay, that's what
It's And it's been opened up before, but it's been an exorbitant amount of time since it's been opened up.
It needs to be done
And,
again. We need to get a work order and get that done.
Well, I know you guys have funds for that because it's been done before. Somebody was able to get me a culvert out there that I've been asking for the last 2 years. And fortunately, that was done a while back.
Well, good.
I think Mr. McHaffey finally did that for me.
Yeah.
So I just this is not something major, and I know it can be done. So and it's frustrating when that water is going across from the other side when this is something that doesn't take an exorbitant amount of time and resources to do that with.
All right.
It's been done before.
Our road manager stepped out of the building, but we'll make sure it gets addressed.
We've got your address.
Well, I've been told it was going to be done last year, and it wasn't. And I've got a shovel, and my son have been out there trying to dig.
No, you don't need to
But
do that. We're gonna take care
No,
of it.
we're doing that because it wasn't done, but I know it's something that needs to be.
Should have been done. Should
Yeah.
have been done.
Thank you.
So
for
how
bringing it to our attention.
soon can you guys get to that?
It's gonna be pretty soon.
I mean, today's Thursday.
It'll be next
Probably
week at
next
the
week
latest.
now because today's
Okay, give me a day, please, because I'll
Next
be.
week at the
Well, I
latest.
can't give you.
We're gonna let our road manager decide how he wants to run his crews. They're telling
Well, there's a McHaffey. Is he still working with you all?
He is. He's assistant road manager.
Well, have him to call me, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, we're gonna put a work order in for it. It's how it goes down. It goes down to our road manager.
Yeah, I know the
And-
process.
Okay, that's the process we're gonna take, but we're gonna get it
Yes.
done next week.
Does he need to call you at your address in Jackson where you
He
live?
has my number, and
Yeah.
I've asked him to call
Yeah,
me.
can you give the board your address, please, where you live? Where do you live?
Yep.
I'm living in Jackson, but
Yeah, okay.
he
So-
has my number, but that's 128 Gilbert Circle, and they're on Lockney Road.
All right.
Okay, you
Thank
you live in Jackson. Should he
Yeah.
call you at the number that's
The number that
for
I've
you in
given
Jackson?
him, yes,
Okay.
he has
All right.
that number.
All right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Gilbert.
Thank you all for your
Okay.
time.
Yes, sir, thank you. All right, I know this is kind of on the public comment side, but I'm gonna kind of shift to an area that I think will take care of a lot of the other people that are here. I know people's been here for a long time this morning. But I'm gonna skip around on the agenda past Ms. Herring. Sorry, Ms. Herring. And Mr. Parker. I know you got Candy back there, she should be okay. I want to move into item number 8 under public hearings. Mr. Slay, I know I've had you up all morning. I haven't had to give you time to take a sip of coffee, but item A is a public hearing issue with the Cockrell's area. So I want to address that right now while we can, while we have people here. I don't want to make anybody wait any longer for that.
Yes,
So,
sir.
If you would, Mr. Slay, if you would jump to item number 8 under public hearings.
Yes, sir. Just for matters of logistics and protocol, I think it would be appropriate for us to reconvene the public hearing that was previously held.
Okay.
And so this is regarding a request for a conditional use application that relates to a billboard that would be, if granted, would be installed at the address 1307 Old Fannin Road. This is District 2. And so that matter has been put back on the agenda because we took the extraordinary action of allowing that pending application, the one we're talking about here, to be allowed to proceed even though the board has placed a temporary moratorium on all billboard applications in the Reservoir Community District zoning overlay. But this particular application was pending prior to the board's action, and so it's appropriate that it be considered until it's concluded in whatever form. And so the preparations have been made coming up to today to have this public hearing at this time, and on June the 29th, is today the 30th? On June the 20th, on June the 28th, at about 8:00 p.m., the county received a notification via email from an attorney in Orlando, Florida, a Miss Sloan. She composed a cover letter and she enclosed, eventually she sent a document that is titled a non-competition, non-solicitation, proprietary information, non-disclosure agreement. And in her letter, she indicates that her client, which is Trailhead Media LLC, which is an outdoor media display and advertising company that is based in Laurel, Mississippi, is enforcing or intending to enforce this agreement that I just referenced. And the restricted party under the agreement, according to Ms. Sloan, is Leonard Busby and any of the entities that were a part and parcel of an asset purchase agreement that was executed between Trailhead Media and Mr. Busby and his companies in July of 2020. And so this non-competition document that she later forwarded to me for my review purports to restrict Mr. Busby and his entities as it relates to any development of billboards and or transactions related to billboards by Mr. Busby, except within a very narrowly defined and restricted property description and or billboard locations. There were some workouts or some carve-arounds that would allow Mr. Busby to have the ability to continue with some sort of development activity as it relates to billboards, but those were narrowly defined and tailored. And so this company, Trailhead Media, through Ms. Sloan, the lawyer, has indicated that they intend to make it a matter of litigation in the event that this board proceeds to authorize any billboard development or transactions of any kind by or on behalf of Mr. Busby. And they are pointing to the provisions of the non-competition agreement and saying that it includes both direct activity and indirect activity on the part of Mr. Busby. In other words, he couldn't work through some third party and just be behind the scenes. All of that is restricted. And this is consideration for a sales transaction where Mr. Busby sold his companies to this company. And as a part of that, they have requested a 5-year non-competition agreement. It was executed in July 2020, and so they are basically just about to be at the end of year 2 of what's a 5-year restricted period. Okay, I mentioned all that to explain and kind of set the table for the board to understand where we start this public hearing process and the reconsideration of the application. And it's important for the board to understand we are not, the Board of Supervisors in Rankin County are not in the business of enforcing private agreements between private parties. But we have a long-standing policy that I have counseled the board about regularly, and I'll give you an analogy here in a moment. But we have a long-standing policy that where we know that to allow something to happen will potentially violate a private agreement that could restrict that activity, we don't issue the permit in that situation. We don't want to be drug into litigation for permitting something to happen that we know on the front end could likely be declared invalid under some other agreement. Here's the analogy, and we face this fairly consistently. We have a number of old subdivisions around Rankin County, and from time to time we find that in some old subdivisions the restrictive covenants have lapsed. They don't apply anymore. And then we have other old subdivisions where, unbeknownst to us, they renewed their restrictive covenants and they're still in place. And so from time to time we'll have situations where, say, a large lot subdivision somewhere in the county, somebody that lives in that subdivision wants to do something, but they need to come to us and ask for a conditional use. I'll give you a great example. La Bourgeois Estates, that's a good one to start with. Some of those phases of La Bourgeois have restrictive covenants that have been continued, and some have no restrictive covenants because they've lapsed, right? And so from time to time, we'll have a lot owner in there that wants to put up an accessory structure on their lot. And so we will receive those as conditional use requests. And so as a part of the process we're going through, another neighbor may raise an issue. That accessory structure is going to violate our restrictive covenants. Oh, we didn't know they were still in place. And so this board will say to the person that's making the conditional use application, if we let you do this, you're probably going to get sued by your homeowners association. because it violates the restrictive covenants. And we're careful to say, aren't we? We don't enforce restrictive covenants. That's a private agreement among private property owners, and we're not going to get in the business of enforcing that. But we're not, Mr. Applicant, we're not going to let you walk into a lawsuit by permitting you to do something that we know violates your restrictive covenants, or that arguably violates restrictive covenants. And we will tell them, go get that sorted out with the HOA. Go get it sorted out, and then come back when we know that we're not going to immediately go into a lawsuit situation. Come back and we will entertain your conditional use application if y'all can get that worked out.
Okay.
That's a perfect analogy for where we are. We have before us an agreement that was executed by Mr. Busby and by Trailhead Media LLC that says for 5 years, beginning July of 2020, you will not develop, transact, conduct business in the nature of selling, renting, leasing, etc., billboards in the restricted area, which includes Rankin County, except in the very narrowly tailored, very narrowly defined properties for a period of 5 years. And we're 2 years into that. We got 3 years left to go in the restricted period. And I think we would be well served as a board to say to Mr. Busby and to anybody that's here, that needs to be sorted out. Trailhead Media and Mr. Busby need to figure out whether or not this activity that is being requested violates that non-competition agreement, so that we don't do something and then get drug into a lawsuit that has already been threatened.
Okay. All right. Let me add one thing on that, Mr. Slay. While we're here at that, and obviously you're telling us that you probably don't need to take action until that's taken care of, I do have people here on the public comments, which is why I was wanting to tie this public hearing into public comments
Yes,
that
sir.
are on our docket, that I would like to speak
Yes.
in regards to the billboard. And then also I see Mr. Cockrell's here. We'll let him speak if he's got any questions or anything like that. But I'm going to kind of go down my list right here of the people that are here on my
Why don't you just open the public hearing and let them start?
The public hearing's open.
It was open. That's
So
what we're saying.
we're going to
So, I
receive
mean,
comments.
I was just going to go by the order, but if anybody wants to speak in regards to it, or I can go down the list, either one. I don't care what order then.
Mr. President, may I do one additional thing that I think may eliminate the need for a lot of potential discussion on an issue? I mentioned that there's these narrowly tailored exceptions to the non-competition agreement. There are actually property locations that are listed. They are an exhibit to a separate agreement that's referenced in the non-competition agreement. It's called a development agreement. But nonetheless, there is a list of about 22 different locations that Mr. Busby, it's fair game for Mr. Busby to keep moving on. And my suspicion is that you're going to be told that this billboard application fits in that narrowly tailored exception. In other words, I think, I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth here, but I think you may hear an argument. This particular request is fair game. It was listed. I mentioned when we opened the public hearing the address for this billboard request, 1307 Old Fannin Road. That's critical. The exception in the document, 1139 Old Fannin Road. They need to figure out, this board does not need to figure out, they need to figure out which board are we talking about, what property we're talking about, get all that straight, and then come talk to us about this.
Thank you, Mr. Slay.
All right, so public, and I do want to allow, if you want to speak on this, please come speak. I know you've been sitting 3 hours, 2 hours to have this hearing, so, absolutely. So those in opposition of the billboard, if you'd like to speak, I'll guarantee time on the mic. Anyone? Dr. Burns? Yeah, sure.
As an educator of 46 years, a driver ed instructor for many years, billboards are a distraction. They're bright, they stand out, they grab your attention, for 2 to 3 seconds. And then if you don't watch it, you'll watch another one that flips up right along with it. And during that time, you travel a long way. So my question is, if we allow billboards, are roads safer with electronic billboards? It's that simple.
Okay.
And I don't think there's anybody that doesn't know that answer.
Hey, Mr.
Thank
Homer,
you. Yes, sir.
you bring up a good point on that, and I did a little research on that, and I even got the sheriff's department involved in it, and since January of 2021, there's been, I think, 80 accidents on Old Fannin, and 0 was caused by billboards. I'm not saying
yes, sir.
That's what it is, but there's 0 accidents been reported as a billboard causing an accident.
Right, but each time you spend 2 to 3 seconds, how far is your vehicle travel?
This right here is probably
Yes, sir.
more people have accidents because this.
That's number 2 on their list. Number 1 was something I'm guilty of, eating.
Or turning the radio station.
Maybe watching that biker go down the bike lane.
Yeah, right, right. So I'm just saying, as an old driver ed instructor, we used to say, keep your eyes on the road, don't look off. We even train people how to turn their radios on and off without taking their eyes off the road.
That's right.
All right, thank you, Dr. Burns.
Thank you.
Anyone else in opposition that wish to speak? Okay. No one else in opposition? Oh, yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Well,
Eric
just-
Case,
yes, sir.
Avalon Homeowners Association.
Yes, sir.
I represent, I'm the president of the board. I represent 399 houses and families in those houses. And the general comment from the neighborhoods is that we are opposed to this billboard.
Yes, sir, thank you. for
Thank
your
you very
comments.
much.
Yes, sir. Anyone else in opposition? Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, either one of y'all? Both of y'all are up there? It was a tie, I thought, raising your hand, so come on. We gotta get a better pathway for people to get up from the back, don't we? Sorry about that.
The word just blocking the whole thing.
Maybe a bigger board. Right?
Mike Word, yeah. So, good morning. If you would introduce yourself to the board.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Repito, and I'm an attorney. I represent Lamar Advertising. Lamar is, as y'all know, a billboard company. They are regulated by sign ordinances. And as a corporate citizen, Lamar supports effective regulation of billboards. Lamar, I think, has one sign on this road and has not looked to put any more on there because they know that when there is a proliferation of billboards, that leads to backlash. and that is primarily why we are here today, to oppose this continual use. And I just want to make a few very quick points and ask that some items be placed in the record of this public hearing. The first is, it is our understanding that Trailhead is going to enforce their rights under the non-compete. And so we would ask that a copy of Ms. Sloan's letter along with the non-compete agreement be placed into the record of this public hearing.
Mr. Swells will take that, thank you.
So again, and I think Mr. Slade's point is well taken, that there is obviously a legal dispute between these parties that frankly it's would vote against granting the conditional use.
Okay.
We would also state that just based on our review of the application, it does not appear that the requirements of the ordinance are satisfied with regard to what is necessary in order to grant a conditional use. In particular, it's hard to tell by looking at the site plan exactly whether or not the setback requirements are met, but just based on our review, it does not look like it is. It does not look like there has been any attempt to satisfy the compatibility requirement or really any of the other requirements. And so we would point that out. We also have serious concerns that the rezoning of this property, the recent rezoning, was improper spot zoning that was done solely to allow for this sign, and that this is not consistent with Mississippi law on proper rezoning of property. And finally, we submit that the application that was withdrawn by Busby on May 16th, 2020, due to the moratorium, that it is improper to consider that. I mean, it essentially gave him a monopoly on a billboard application at a time when no one else's applications could be considered. I won't belabor any of those points. I would ask, we have got a list of some items that we would like to be included. I would just submit those.
Sure.
That list.
All right.
Hey, Craig, can you touch on the rezoning part? Because I was just assuming that car dealership right beside is C3, right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Craig, I would like you to clean that up.
Sure, absolutely.
My memory and knowledge had nothing to do with the sign. It had to do with the car dealership
Yes, sir.
already operating.
Yes, sir.
Selling cars, storing cars. And this operation already in business, and
Yes, sir.
I think I can remember saying that we need to get them in compliance.
Yes, sir.
That's
exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
It's immediately adjacent to C3. And no, to my knowledge, no one has objected to C3 being the appropriate. In fact, the 10 days on objecting to that rezoning has long since passed. That ship has sailed. And so I think the time to bring that up was many moons ago. That I think we are where we are with respect to C3. I do also want to clarify one thing as well, and that's the comment. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Lisa
Yes. Okay, Ms. Rapito. Your objection before the spot zoning objection. Restate that for me, please.
From what we can see from the application, it does not appear that the requirements for a division zoning ordinance are met.
Yeah. Right. I think your objection actually was that that they had a monopoly on the billboard application process, right?
Oh, I think that was after. That was the point.
Okay. All right. So I was going back over that one more time, make sure I clearly understood the objection. It sounds to me like the objection is that the application was withdrawn at a point in time when the board had already established its moratorium, and that to proceed forward would violate the moratorium. And I just wanted to clarify something about that. My recollection is that Mr. Cockrell, the property owner, stepped forward and indicated that as far as he was concerned, he was prepared to withdraw the application. I don't know whether he actually said that publicly or whatever. But regardless, we didn't hear from Mr. Busby, and Mr. Busby and his companies are the applicant. So the applicant did not withdraw anything. Okay, I just want to make sure the record's clear about that. Mr. Busby and his companies are your applicant, not Mr. Cockrell. Mr. Cockrell's your property owner. And so the request for the conditional use as structured does not violate your moratorium, because that application was pending before this board established its moratorium. So I just want to make sure that's clear about that.
All right.
Are we prepared?
Yeah, hang on one second. I just want to double check. Anybody else in opposition wants to speak? Yes, sir. Sorry about that. You raised your hand and you lost the draw there.
I was wanting to defer to hear some of the other.
Sure. Yes, sir. Introduce yourself to the board if you don't mind.
Sure. My name is Doug Kyle. I live in River Chase Subdivision, and I'm the president of the Homeowners Association.
Yes, sir.
So I'm here to represent our neighborhood today. And I appreciate you letting me go after these folks, because there's a couple of questions that I still am unclear on, and I was hoping maybe to get some information from some of the other people. I've tried to talk to a number of people from several different vantage points here, including Mr. Bishop. He and I have talked probably 3, maybe 4 times about this. First off, let me kind of qualify myself. I retired last year from a career in public service, 42 years. I was a manager for 35 of those years. The last 10 years, I held 3 different positions. And at the end of the fiscal year, the last fiscal year in each of those positions, I represented an operation statewide. We finished #1 in the entire country for public customer satisfaction. Okay? I represented consumers, I represented businesses, and then I was in a position that actually combined those 2. So even though I'm retired, I still have a keen interest in public service. Not public office, but public service. And I feel like that I speak from a little bit of experience, and if I say so myself, the track record indicates that I've got a little expertise in that. The reason I bring that up is because we had success because our approach to things was solve the problem and then solve the source, okay? Correct the problem, correct the source. So I'll tie that in just a minute. I want to mention that I've lived in Rankin County for 33 years in River Chase Subdivision. Best I can tell, River Chase has been there 35 years, and my wife and our family have lived there for 33. So I've been in Rankin County. Probably the next time I move will be to some cemetery. So I feel like that I've seen the area grow. I've tried to be involved in everything that I can, but we're fundamentally opposed to this. And when I first heard about it, Mr. Bishop and I talked and everything, and again, like I said, the story seems to have kind of been evolving. Hadn't been able to always find out the facts as I really wanted them, because I wanted to be able to make an informed decision. And like I said, I talked to people who were adamantly opposed to this and were very vehement about it. And I got a little information in some of those cases, but I tried to just sort of filter it in. And as I told Mr. Bishop, I just want an informed viewpoint. I want to be able to represent my neighborhood. If you know where River Chase is, we're across the road and down the road from the location in question. So you may wonder, well, what do people in River Chase care about a billboard that's actually out of your line of sight? Well, a lot of times we refer to quality of life, and we refer to billboards as an eyesore. And a lot of people kind of snicker at that and scoff at that, and they begin to think about hugging trees and clutching pearls and that kind of thing, But I have some residents in our neighborhood. In fact, one of them is a board member. They can't watch TV in their sunroom at night without the digital billboard that sits over in the boatyard getting into their line of vision. So they probably didn't realize that when they bought the house. I think they've lived there since the early 90s. But it is affecting their quality of life. It'd be like if you went home and put a little iPad up behind your TV and you were constantly trying to watch, but it's flashing other things to you. So there is such a thing as an eyesore, and there is such a thing as quality of life. So I don't know for a fact, maybe nobody in Avalon Subdivision would ever have to endure what one of my board members and residents has. I asked another one of my board members who lives right up the street, I said, do you get any reflection from that billboard? And she says, no, but she says, I don't really have a window that looks out on it, like the other person does. So that's part of it. Part of my personal concern is I've tried to understand this process and how we got to where we are today. And as best I can determine, this happened in 2 phases. Am I correct there? Well, I was told that an ordinance got changed that enabled the application process to move forward.
Well, I don't believe the ordinance got changed in order to move an application forward. The ordinance got changed and then an application was moved forward. They weren't done in unison.
No, sir, and I'm not alleging that.
That's what Mr. Gaines was having Mr. Slay explain a few minutes ago.
Right.
The ordinance was changed to help clean up the C3 zoning that's currently existing in that spot with an auto car dealership.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not alleging there was an ulterior motive. I'm just saying that sometimes good intentions produce bad results. Okay, and just like my resident, when they moved in that house, little did they know that they were going to be seeing a billboard flashing above their TV, you know. But that is kind of what concerns me, because even if this application currently is withdrawn, it seems to me that it still leaves open the possibility that someone else can come right in who is not enjoined by some kind of contractual agreement. And here we are back again holding another hearing for another applicant. So that's what I'm concerned about today is, you know, if this was a two-step process, then let's not just fix the problem today, let's fix the source of it. So that's what I would like to ask that you all consider is, not only are we opposed to it now, we're opposed to it being possible.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And we would like to ask that you consider rescinding whatever, you know, inert act enabled this, and get back to the point where we don't have to worry about it again. You know, because I'd like to live a nice little peaceful life of retirement out in Rankin County without having to come to meetings like this and oppose things like this.
So we have a moratorium in place. There will be no additional billboard applications received after this one has been dealt with. There are no applications that are pending, and the board will not entertain any during the pendency of the moratorium, which the board controls the length of and has given no indication of its intention to lift. Secondarily to that, the board has requested previously that we begin exploring the option of, in fact, discontinuing allowing any billboards along Old Fannin. And so we are feverishly developing a process that can allow the board to entertain that possibility. No decisions have been made, but I think the board's had a belly full of billboards along Old Fannin and is prepared at this point to look into the option that the board could have to establish some sort of amortization schedule that would allow for all billboards to be non-conforming uses and have to be taken down eventually.
So we don't have to worry about whatever company is blocking the current applicant. We don't have to worry about them jumping in and filing an application.
At this point, they are prohibited.
As it sits right now, there's a moratorium currently in place. The board can lift that at some point. The board can.
That's a decision we'll have to make.
As it comes down the line. So.
Okay, and I think we can live with that. I mean, you know, we have what we have. A friend of mine owns a business in Starkville on Highway 12 that just he was forced to take down his sign because it was more than 8 feet high. And we were talking, and I said, well, what about the billboards? Are they going to make those come down? He says, no. He said, we found out, my attorney found out there's some kind of state law that protects them, and if you try to take them down, you got to buy them. And that costs millions of dollars. And I said, well, that's never going to happen.
It doesn't have to. There's an amortization period where they can recover the investment that they've made.
Okay.
And that will satisfy the condemnation law that you're talking about. The board's not in the condemnation business here on Old Fannin. We got all the right of way we need. We're not gonna extend or expand our right of way. So that law doesn't apply.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you,
It's
Mr. Scott.
public record now. I'll take your word for it.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Anyone else in opposition? Yes, sir. Hey, good morning. I say it's good morning. It's almost good afternoon. But,
Yeah, it's afternoon.
Thank you for your patience. You want to introduce yourself to the board?
My name is Martin Parkinson. I'm with Regatta HOA.
Yes, sir.
I'm representing them. Everybody that we canvassed and talked to about it, they're all in opposition. I wanted to go on the record to relay that to you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
All
time.
right. Thank you.
Mr. Hicks? I'm just kidding. No. Hang on one second. Hang on one second. I'm going to let you speak again. Yes, ma'am. Just a second. Anyone else in opposition wants to speak that I've got on the list here? I don't want to miss. All right, ma'am. I'll let you say one other thing. Yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify, my statement about Busby withdrawing the application in May, I mean, that's what the minutes say.
Okay.
Of that May 16th meeting. It says no action required due to withdrawal of the application by Leonard Busby.
Okay, thank you.
That's what's in the minutes.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Anyone else on the list to speak in opposition? Mr. Cockrell, I know you're on the list. Would you like to speak? You're not speaking in opposition necessarily, but there's no one else in opposition. Mr. Cockrell, you'd like to come up and say a few words? I know you're on.
Mr. Busby.
Well, I'm just going by the list.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
Mr. Busby can speak first if you'd like. I don't have him on the list, I don't think. Yeah, I do have him on the list. Mr. Busby, Mr. Cockrell, either one. I'm just going in top to
Let's go
bottom.
on. Who
My
wants to
eyes
go
are
first?
working. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning. Kyle Cockrell, 1307 Old Fanning Road. I just want to apologize to everybody in here. I didn't know this was going to get into a cluster mess.
It's crazy.
I done told I couldn't cuss, so I'm trying to word the words right. I may sound redneck, but that's the only words I know. You got 3 or 4, I mean, I'm not downing or talking bad about nobody. You got 3 or 4 homeowner associations saying that they opposing all this. That's 3 or 4 people. When you got emails, phone calls, all this, all that, where's the proof? I mean, the people has came in to my business and signed a petition saying that they would want it, that they would back us to get a billboard. Other companies put people out walking the street like it's an election day or something, trying to stop it. I mean, acting like a kid. 5 years ago, I probably would have took my belt off and whooped some ass, but sorry. But, you know, I don't know. It's up to y'all. Busby and Trailhead needs to work out whatever they got worked out. I don't know the legal part or nothing like that. Heck, I sell tomatoes. I don't know none of that junk. But I tell you what, I got a heart and I try to do what's right for the people of Rankin County, the schools of Rankin County, everybody in Rankin County. Because Rankin County has been good to me in my business. But that's all I got to say. It's up to y'all.
Thank you, Cal. And I do want to mention also the business you run there on Old Fanning.
Yeah.
It's outstanding.
Yeah.
Sir?
I appreciate your business you run on Old Fanning. It's an outstanding business.
Thank you.
Community loves it, and it's a great operation. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Hall, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
But you got a cast on your leg down there?
I broke 2 toes, and I promise I did not kick my husband.
I don't believe it.
We didn't ask you to who'd you kick?
I had a run-in with the chair, and it won.
All right. Good morning.
I'm Jennifer Hall. I live at 219 North Wind Drive in Brandon. And first of all, I know that Mr. Slay is hired to protect the board and does an outstanding job. Sometimes we're not always on the same page, but I do respect him. And what he brought forth to you, I understand there's more documentation coming. And I do think that does need to be worked out. And I hope that the application will stay in place until all the documentation on this issue can be reviewed by Mr. Slay and cleared up, because I think that's very important for you. But I drive up and down O'Fannin every day. And Kyle Cockrell is a personal friend of mine, and he and my husband and I go there very often to buy our vegetables. We're so fortunate to have Cockrell's Farmers Market, and he is correct. Over 1,000 people. While these neighborhoods have said that they represent the neighborhoods, I would be real surprised if their names are not in this 1,000. This is over 1,000 Rankin County people that have signed this petition saying that they would support a billboard located on O'Fannin at this place of business. These are people that they couldn't all be here. They work. They're not going to take off work and stay 3 hours to come here and speak. But they are willing to sign their name, put their address, put their phone number, and say, I support this. That's proof in the pudding right here. This is proof in the pudding. And I'll be glad to give this to y'all. But these people, I think this situation reminds me of a Bible story that we're all familiar with, David and Goliath. And I think that's what we have here. I think we have a big company who doesn't want any competition and wants to control. And I appreciate your leadership, because Kyle is an outstanding community. I mean, he's the kind of person that takes watermelons to nursing homes. He doesn't do that to get attention. He does it because he does have a big heart. And he cares about people. I can tell you right now, if that billboard does go there, he won't be charging anybody for a community message, because he's a community person. He's a part of our community and does a lot. So And whereas if billboards are safer, not to that, well, they're all over the country, so that, I think that boat's already sailed, to use Mr. Slade's. But I do appreciate y'all do looking at everything. I know you have to look at everything, and I appreciate that. But in the end, there are a lot of people that are not opposed for this, and I do think there are many out there. And I'm willing to come here today not only to speak as a Rankin County citizen, but also as a friend of Kyle Cockrell's, because I believe when a friend's in need, I'm going to stand by him. And if I give a man or woman my word, I'm going to stand by my word, because that's how my mom and daddy raised me. Thank you for your opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. My name is Leonard Busby, and I will be working it out with Trailhead Media. And I'll have her write a letter if possible. She'll be doing that very soon. And as soon as I do, I'll get it to your attorney to move forward, hopefully, and everything would be fine. I apologize for the misunderstanding that all this coming through and wasting your time, but we're not wasting your time, because we're going to be able to do that Amber Alert for those communities and anything that we need to for our community. That's what we're about. And we do want to compete. And even though I'm not for Lamar, I do appreciate them fighting, but I'm in it too. And I want to definitely put one up here at this location. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Busby.
Thank you.
Anyone else, sir? You want to speak? You good? Anyone else in the audience? Mr. Gaines, you want to say something? Sure.
This is really hard for me to do. This has been something that's been on my mind every hour for a month, I would say. I'm in a position that I've got to use integrity with. Kyle is almost like family. We've been on vacation together. I know his wife's here. My daughter loves him. He's one of the most honest Christian men I've ever met. On the other side, you've got other people. Lamar, I personally advertised on their signs. I think I even did with Mr. Busby. But I also have a personal relationship with Eric Axley. Since he was a young guy, his father was a missionary, went out of the country. He had to have somebody step in, and we got to know each other. He's also a great guy. To say all that, my daughter lives to where she could see the sign. She hadn't told me either way what at all. I'm conflicted, and by the definition, I want to recuse myself from a vote. Kyle, I feel like I'm letting you down. There's times that we've been in public over the last couple of days since this has been going on. I know we're friends, and she just said friends should look out for each other. Sir, I want to look out for you. But I don't want somebody to come up and say, oh yeah, he got to him, because Gaines went on, you know. Hopefully you will understand. Thank you. If and when there is, I want y'all to understand why I'm taking myself out of this. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gaines. To kind of anybody else public comment, I'll be sure I get everybody. I know everybody's been patient and been here for 2.5, 3 hours this morning on all kind of issues. I echo the same things to the certain point, Mr. Gaines, on Mr. Cockrell. I mean, we've been friends we've worked out a lot of different things that's going on up there, and I totally support your business. It's an incredible asset to the community. We love you guys over there. Hope you stay there for a long time. Having said that, back onto the motion side of what's going on, Mr. Slay, as far as action taken, the advice on or movement of the board on whether to act right now in regards to the letter from Ms. Sloan.
Right.
I believe it's Ms. Sloan, if I said that correctly. Got a lot of names in front. Yeah, Ms. Sloan.
So,
the advice on that, or how we need
yes,
to proceed in this public hearing.
Well, I started, and it's been some time ago, so
Yep.
let me quickly restate. I started from the perspective that in my opinion, any attempt to act on this matter is simply going to generate litigation that the county is almost assuredly going to get embroiled in. Will be a necessary party to any decision that you make. There's a couple options that you could take as I see it. There may be more, but these are the two that seem to make the most sense to me based on where we stand. In light of what has been received as it relates to this non-competition agreement and this development agreement and what I walked you through there, in light of that, an option that you can take is simply to continue this matter for some period of time until such time as that issue, that non-competition issue, that separate issue that doesn't really relate to the county. We don't enforce those kinds of agreements, but they will impact us as it relates to this decision. You could continue this matter to a date certain of your choosing to allow for that process to unfold and for the matter then to be not clouded with that as a part of your decision-making process, okay? You could do that. But you've already gone through the trouble today to hear from individuals who are both in favor of and opposed to. I think you've received, including an entire recitation and package delivered by a competitor, Lamar. You have received considerable information about this request. I don't know what else could be said at this point. And so in light of that, if the board is prepared to go on and make a decision today and not belabor the point, then you would certainly be well served to do that. It's up to you guys to decide what do you want to do. And so either option I think will work based on the posture that we're in now. And that is you could delay action for a period of time to allow this other ancillary issue to be dealt with, or you could go ahead and render your decision today.
Okay. All right, does the board wish to entertain a motion on the public hearing, item A?
The only other choice we'd have to do would be, I mean, I wouldn't say this one, but be approve it contingent. All their documentation works out to be where he had it worked out.
Yes, sir.
With Trailhead, or whoever.
Yes, sir. I believe that could be a viable option. Yes, sir.
But otherwise, it's probably best just to, in a sense, table it.
Yes, well, again, I think the board's got to wrestle with what we do now. Tabling it is an option that's available to you, and it does seem to me to make sense in light of the fact that this is a third-party issue, a private third-party issue.
Right.
The hard part is we just simply don't know how long it will take to sort all that out. I would suggest to you that you need to be thoughtful about the period of time that you delay action. It needs to be enough time for them to get it sorted out.
Wonder what time they think it would take.
30 days.
I don't know, what's the board think? Well, I think it's fair to, I think it'd be fair to table it and give them some time since we're at this.
It's totally discretionary with the board.
Work session in July.
Huh?
Sir?
When's our next work session in July?
I'll tell you, I got it on this, one of these sheets down here.
I'll make a motion to table this item till
July
July 28th.
All right, I'll second it.
All right, hang on one second. I've got to entertain the board right now. So I got a motion by Mr. Bishop to table this item to 28 July, the work session. If it's not the 28 July, whatever the next work session is. All right, second by Mr. Morrison. Second by Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the like sign. So the item's tabled till 28 July.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Sir, do you have something else you want to say real quick? Because we're going to move on to another item on the. Yes, sir.
Will there be another hearing since you pinned it?
It'll be on the agenda and it'll come in front of the board. So the hearing will take place here in this room. Yes, sir.
There won't be another hearing.
Well, there'll be another discussion.
I mean, we'll vote on it, but it won't be another hearing.
May not be a place for public comment, but there'll be a vote taken in this room in public. Yeah. All right.
All right.
Mr. Slay, I've moved all around this agenda, so I'm going to come back
Thank
to.
y'all for your patience. Yeah, y'all.
Okay, so I'm going to come back up to Ms. Herring, if you're still with us. Sorry about that. So I'm going to go under item 6 now. Ms. Herring.
This morning, we have a bid opening for bid number 22-300-9 for the term bid for asphalt placement and crack sealing. And we received 4 bids.
Dropped over all the stuff.
Y'all ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The
Let's
first
get it
bid
on.
we received is from Sunbelt Sealing, and we received it electronically. They did not bid on item 1, but they did bid item 2, the cleaning and sealing of cracks, at $1.25 per linear foot.
Who was it?
Sunbelt.
Sunbelt Sealing.
Sunbelt. On crack.
Yeah.
I wonder why they didn't bid on the asphalt.
They're not an asphalt company. That's
Oh,
their,
not,
that's their specialty.
okay, I was thinking the price.
No, that's their specialty.
Mike, is it getting a little difficult to get a bid on asphalt? Not that
Well,
we,
you can get one.
not that we could pay for it.
You just may not be able to afford it.
Yeah.
Right. The next bid is from J&L Enterprises. They only bid on item 1. Unit price per ton is $54.
How much is it again?
54.
54.
So is this our normal, bid that we do?
No, this is a new thing where they're bidding only on placement of hot mix asphalt. We will issue a purchase order under our commodity bids for the plant mix. They will go to that plant, the one that's awarded, and pick up the asphalt, and they will place it themselves. We're trying to get through this term because the bids are so, because pricing's so messed. We're gonna do a lot of evaluating in the next few months before we take bids in December. We're just trying to get through it. We have no overlay
This gives
bid.
us a paving contractor in place, Jay.
This
in case
gives
we
us
have-
that option instead of just the, was it Matt and Seal? We just don't have anything right now. None of our bids are, they couldn't honor them for the actual overlay part. This bid is from AdCamp Incorporated. For item 1, the asphalt, they bid $68 per ton. No bid on the cleaning and sealing.
Who was this?
AdCamp.
$58 or 68?
68.
68. The final bid is AJ Construction. Item 1, they bid $70 per ton. Item 2, $3 per linear foot.
So AdCamp didn't bid this item 2, huh?
No, they did not. AJ has an exception justification. They, on FOB, they put AJ Construction term bid, 500 tons minimum to show up, 1,500 linear foot minimum on the, I guess that's the asphalt, the concrete part.
Who was the first one? Who was the first?
Sunbelt.
Sunbelt.
What was the second one?
JL.
J&L.
Never heard of it.
What did Sunbelt bid on that concrete? The very first one.
What was the price?
$125,
That
$1.25.
was on, yeah. That's on item 2.
Per foot.
Yeah,
Alright.
linear foot.
All right.
Just for comparison purposes, at our current asphalt bid, which is what, now?
8650 was the overlay.
With the asphalt that
That's
you got,
$1.25.
plus this in place, this placement piece, you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $120 to
Oh.
$125.
I'm telling you incorrectly. On the FOB plant mix, I think it's 50.
68.
Sorry, I was thinking about overlay one.
You're looking at about 120 to 125.
Twice.
Yes, sir, that's what it is per ton, and our current asphalt bid that can't be honored is at 96, so that helps you understand kind of what this is where we are. At $30 a ton.
They're cunning.
More than where we were, that's a 33% increase.
Which is why we stopped all overlay in the county.
And I think other counties, other places have been receiving the asphalt in place, just a regular one, what, at $140, $150 a ton.
Yeah, we had one. We'll talk about it in a minute.
Is that all of them?
Yes, that's it.
All right, so entertain a motion to take those bids under consideration.
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with light sign. Thank you, Ms. Herring. Thank you for your patience. Mr. Timothy Parker, under item 7.
Yeah.
How many pieces of candy have you eaten during the last 3 hours?
Too many. I thought I was gonna have to switch from peppermint to chocolate, but we made it just in time.
Thank goodness, we got you. So, under item A.
Item A, State Aid has given us a bid date for our SAP 6118M project. That's our overlay project.
The bid date's August the 4th, so we would request authority to advertise that in the paper starting next week.
Board wishes to entertain a motion for item A.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Calhoun, second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed with the light sign. Mr. Parker, before you go anywhere and get back into the chocolate, there's a project out there that we've been working on that I know we've kind of landed in the foots of the Corps for Mill Creek, the Arpa project.
Yes, sir.
And I know we were gonna go out to bid on Monday or Tuesday's meeting because I thought we were gonna be ready by July, but as we sit there at the feet of the Corps of Engineers, we still haven't received the grants permits to come back for that. So as we sit there in that same point, part of that Mill Creek construction project is gonna be dealing with rock.
Correct.
So Harrison decides to check the mail and he gets a notice and letter that rock shortage is now becoming apparent.
Right.
So my question to you and to Mr. Harrison, Mr. Slay, and other people on this board, should we go ahead and pre-buy this rock? Because we know the project's been approved and we're headed down this route.
Right.
So should we begin some of our ARPA spending on pre-purchasing the rock and staging that in a location where the price is reasonable? There's two issues I've got on not doing that. If we don't do it, the price is gonna go up so much that it's gonna outshoot the bid. The second issue is you may not be able to get it because then everybody else may take the same route. So we know the project's gonna go forward and we know we're gonna do it. Now, when it lays in the Corps of Engineers and the other hands that lay in the pot, the delay factor hits.
Yes.
But if we can go ahead and pre-purchase this rock, if you can get an estimate on how much rock,
Right.
ballpark, that may be on Tuesday's board meeting, we have a total, and a price, and an amount to apply toward the ARPA side to take action on that.
All ARPA projects.
Well, much as rock as he can get, because
Well,
it can
I
all
mean,
can be gone. So
yeah,
at least to
right.
cover the Mill Creek, and if we got an estimation on other rock projects we have happening,
Yeah.
I would like to go ahead and move on that as early as Tuesday. Mike, if you think that's still gonna be available to get, if we can ballpark that into it.
I agree with Jared. I mean, our top ARPA projects that we have on the books, we know we're going to.
If we can get the rock.
Right, but I'm
Because-
just saying, if we take 10 tons and we need 20, then we can try to get 20.
Whatever we can get, that's 100% right. So, Mr. Slade,
Yes.
can you add to that or add your thoughts on the legal side of that?
You covered it. We have the funding available through the ARPA program.
Yep.
These are projects that the board has already authorized.
Okay.
We know that there will be a component part of the projects that is some form of limestone that we'll have to rely on the engineers to make sure we spec the right kind and the right quantity, and then that we have a place for staging,
Look, let me
right?
get you caught up real quick, Bishop. So one of the things we talked about is Harrison gets a letter on rock that is fixing to run into a position where the cost is either going to go up or he can't get it. We've got existing ARPA projects that are coming down the tube that's not really directly in front of us. So the discussion now is on pre-buying rock to place in areas to hold it out of the ARPA funds because we know we're going to run those projects. If not, you're going to run into a delay possibly of not getting the rock, or price goes up where it blows the budget up.
I thought the ARPA projects, we were gonna do overlay.
No, not all of it. No, this is the
can't
projects.
overlay
This will be your Oak Grove, Bill Creek, all of bridge projects, Jay,
For rock.
Oh, the big riprap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Oh, you,
We're not
hey,
talking about
I got you.
Yeah. We can pave those ditches if you want to,
think
but I don't
so.
know that's gonna be.
I doubt we can get that through the Corps of Engineer. We're gonna put asphalt in the ditch. No,
Hey.
I doubt
Yeah,
they're
that's
gonna let us
what-
do
Hey,
that.
But if you're for paving Mill Creek, I'm for it, the ditch. I say we do it. I'm with you. All right, so would you work up a tonnage issue or a quantity? Is everybody good with that for Monday, or, I'm sorry, Tuesday's meeting? Mr. Harrison?
I'm going to suggest that we not be too restrictive as it relates to the ARPA projects, that we be as open-ended as we can and make it clear that what is authorized is an amount that would cover the needs as it relates to the program.
Do we have an
okay?
amount?
Well,
He's
we're
gonna
going to
work
have
on
to
it.
work on that.
He's gotta get a total for us.
Yeah,
Can
so-
you do that by Tuesday? You think?
Absolutely,
I know
yeah,
it's rushing
and
you.
it's gonna be, I mean, with the ditch project like that, this is gonna be a big quantity, and it over time, it's gonna start coming in, but it's not all coming in a week, I can assure you, it's gonna be.
And Mike's got a place to put it, you ready to go
Absolutely.
for storing that?
Yeah,
So,
it needs
out
to
of
be an
curiosity,
open-ended
How are we
authorization.
gonna do that? I mean, are all the projects, Are not some of them going
No,
to
sir.
include the rock in the bid?
It's too early to know for the majority of your projects, okay? It's too early to know that. And that's because there is still some design and development and planning, and I'm speaking primarily of the projects that are beyond the five that have already, or 5 or 6 that have already been teed up. So as you look at those later projects in time, we're not in a position to know precisely. I think Tim, with discussions with other engineers who are involved, can arrive at a reasonable calculation, and we can then stand up an authorization that Mike can simply have authority to go get it when we know what it is, what the amount is, what the type is, and where it can be staged. And you're paying for it with the ARPA proceeds.
So Jay, to I think more directly answer your question, what we would do is we would set up in the specs that we would have a placement of rock or haul and placement from Mike's shop, wherever he stores it, as an item, and it would say owner furnished.
Okay.
So they would just be bidding on going to Mike's shop, picking it up and putting it in place. Still a rock job, but the owner's just furnishing the rock.
And we got a rock.
The downside is you may be purchasing rock now at a price that, lo and behold, something crazy happens and the whole market flips again. I don't expect that, but it could
Don't do
happen.
that.
And you then are placing rock that you've already bought that was at a much higher price than it could have,
I know
that
that
the
is
contractor
gamble,
could have
but I
gotten.
don't see it.
Yeah,
I think
just
there's
don't
a
see it coming down
low
as quick.
probability of that, but you need to understand that's the risk you're taking. I don't think it's a big risk. I think but it is a risk you need to know about.
Well, I just have a question, not really about this, but if we're going to be supposedly September, they're going to take applications. So what would be the appropriate time for us to be able, come September, to hit the ground running, to advertise the job?
Applications.
Yeah.
All right.
for the ARPA funds.
Yeah, Jay, what you're talking about, the applications, has to do with the state matching program.
Right.
And your 5 projects that you've already delineated as authority are unrelated to that. They will be a part of the application. But those projects that we've already stood up, it's the 5 that you guys know about: Mill Creek, Oak Grove, Vernon Jones, Midway Bridge,
Hickory Ridge.
Hickory Ridge, Thomasville Road. Those projects are proceeding through
Right.
the process and can be accommodated with the funding you have. We do not need the state's match
All right.
for
Thank
any
you.
of that.
Okay.
So those timelines don't need to be mixed up with what we're doing with the state matching program. It is important because we need those projects to be matched. But we're not gonna wait on the state's money to move those projects.
Okay. That's what I need to know.
Sorry,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Parker.
It's quite all right.
I'm trying to draw this out as long as I can. This is
Yeah,
time
please.
with Janice.
Yeah, you got a few more.
This is time with Janice, so I thought I would do,
move from the meeting into the reception.
Looked like it.
I thought we wasn't doing a reception. I thought we voted against it.
At 2 o'clock.
Well, good. We may have to delay that a little bit. All right, so thank you, Mr. Parker. We're under item 8 now, under other. Mr. Slade.
I'm not going to belabor item B. I just want you to know that we've been approached by a third party that represents cell tower interests about the land lease that we have in place on Marquette Road that is attenuated to the EOC facility. There's a large cell tower that has been in place for probably 25 years. I think 1998 was actually when that tower was located there. It is a part of it is its own county-owned property, and there's a lease arrangement in place with the owner of the cell tower. The owner of the cell tower is the forebearer of the current Verizon wireless company, and they've had several different iterations of names for these companies. They've been bought and sold and bought and sold and bought and sold. Your current tenant is Verizon Wireless, and so a third-party company has come in and said, we want to work with you, county, to acquire your interest under your lease agreement and take control of that land lease and essentially run that for the county in exchange for a lump sum payment or a series of payments that we will pay to the county for that privilege.
How does that affect Verizon?
It doesn't, because they have a standing lease agreement with the county that gives them the ability, the right to be there. The third-party company is anticipating at some point working out an arrangement with Verizon, since it's Verizon's tower. They're work out an arrangement with Verizon to get access to that tower in a cooperative arrangement with Verizon.
They're just gonna lease space from it.
They lease space from it and provide that space then to other parties. Technically, the county could do that itself, but we're not in the cell tower business. Nobody here, I think, as part of this discussion, unless could be very surprised, has a sophistication with that business to know how to operate that kind of thing. I don't know how.
Does. I think Lance does.
Lance probably good.
He could figure it out if he doesn't know it. But at the end of the day, I'm mentioning that to you because this company has actually gotten to the point where they put an offer on the table, just for round number purposes. About $250,000 is what they would be willing to pay for the privilege then to take the county's position as landlord. Okay?
So would that put them in a stronger position with Verizon?
Yeah. So what it would do is it would take the county out of the position of dealing with a land lease, dealing with a cell phone company, dealing with documentation. Let me tell you where I'm at as legal counsel. I think we're premature. I think they've been pretty strategic from a timing perspective, and that's because your current lease arrangement with Verizon terminates in 2023, which means that they need to come back to the table to deal with the landlord as it relates to their occupancy of that location. And so I would suggest, with your permission, that we reject the offers that have been made, with the understanding that we're still open for later discussion, but we would like to navigate the extension of that lease agreement with Verizon. We would like to navigate that ourselves and see where that takes us, and then revisit this issue at that point. And this would be my suggestion. I've already reached out to some of our litigation experts to help me look at the underlying lease agreement and to kind of navigate and see what the county's position is. I think we're in a pretty strategically important position right now under the lease agreement, and I see us being able to benefit from those discussions with Verizon. So with y'all's permission, we'll just simply reject these offers, but hold open the door for later discussions, if that's okay with y'all.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's all about B.
All right, item C, Mr.
C
Slay.
is the authority to publish our comprehensive plan update and the participation in the development process, and authority for the county administrator to do any and all things necessary to publish that notification and to pay any publication costs, if any. Quick update, CMPDD reached out to Ms. Dobbs with the Rankin Magazine deal, and she has graciously agreed to comp the county's advertisement about its comp plan work. And so I wanted to mention that specifically. She didn't have to do that, but that's an advertisement that's not going to cost you anything. And I would encourage you to reach out to Talia and express your appreciation to her, if you will. And I do appreciate her willingness to do that for us. It's kind of a big
How many years has it been since we did it?
It's been more than 5, Jay, and we're on a timeline to try to do that at least once every 5 years. I think it's been about 7.
Can we put it on billboards?
At this point,
I know one that'll let us.
you probably can get any advertisement you want along Old Fannin at this point.
All right, so the board wishes to entertain a motion to publish the Rankin County comp plan.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Gaines,
Second.
second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the like sign. Mr. Slay, you wasn't picking up your stuff, so I got a feeling you got something else,
You
right?
knew I was going to. This is on your ARPA. I think this will be helpful information to you. Daniel, you alluded to it. I hope you haven't copyrighted human rain delay, because I'm using that frequently now as we talk about the Corps. Army Corps of Engineers. Daniel refers to them as the human rain delay. It's a very apt description. We are aware, everybody's aware, that as it relates to a number of our ARPA projects, we are going to be impacting blue line streams as we implement some of our projects, and that necessarily implicates the Corps' jurisdiction. You can't avoid that. Well, I guess you could. You could say, you know what, we're not gonna do that project. Yeah, you could just say, we're not gonna do the project. But we are at a point now where I think it is pretty apparent, at least to your team, that we have set our projects and we are asking for the state to join us. And we have gotten at a point in the project planning that it would not make sense for us to revisit project authorizations. And so we're gonna have to go through the process of permitting some of the work in these projects through the Corps of Engineers, which is a process that can be cumbersome and lengthy. And so I am telling you that your team is fully aware of that and has already begun a plan and a process that gets us in front of the Corps of Engineers with the entirety of our program, not just specific projects. Hear me when I say that. What we are trying to do is to short circuit as much as we can the process so that we have a go-to person in Vicksburg who is assigned to our projects and can help us navigate that permit structure. We're going to try to be thoughtful and smart and, as best we can, pick off the issues that we would see as problematic for our projects and get that addressed in a wholesale fashion where we can get the permit piece of this streamlined and handled more quickly.
Yeah. And I just want to continue to put pressure there. And the reason I'm going to come back and I'm going to harp on this Mill Creek thing until I go absolutely insane, which is turning my hair white and falling out.
Or go out of office.
Either one. It's going to happen. I'm telling you, that's exactly what's going to happen to me on this situation. My point on this deal is we authorized that Arpa project in October of last year. And here we are, still hung up on paperwork. So I want to just put the extreme pressure that we can to drive to the Corps of Engineers, protest, picket, whatever we got to do to get a permit stamped to move on this project. It's been designed. We've now been blessed to have Wagner come in and say, you're okay. They've gotten the stuff to Parker. Parker's got it down to the Corps Engineer. But I've got to have some people putting some pressure on that to get that project moving.
I think we are at this stage, aren't we?
Hey, that's been longer than that.
5 years.
Everything that can be done on that particular project, with the exception of a core permit, has been done.
I'd like for Mr. Parker to call Biden and have Biden call the Corps of Engineers. Can you do that? He ain't gonna take our calls, but do what you can. I understand. And say something about the gas. Is that, Mr. Slay, you done? You good?
I have an executive matter that I've got to address with you guys.
I know we've got several executive matters. Mr. Hicks, I've been trying to get to you for 3 hours now. Item number 9.
You've been sitting over patiently, I have to say that.
Dr. Burns, thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for what you do.
You're leaving so early, sir.
All right, Mr. Hicks.
The first item, as you're aware, since we started in January, I want to point out we had a tremendous amount of assistance from Lance Cooper, who helped us set up waste management personnel to conduct a house count throughout the county. We had follow-up work done by our 911 addressing staff that did a tremendous job in verifying the information that we received. And so today I'm able to come to you and ask you to adjust the amount down from what we're being billed by Waste Management by 488 houses.
Woo, yeah.
So,
that's a great job, Keith.
I'll point
And
out
Lance.
also, it does, I mean, there's a little variance there. The numbers we had before were a little high, but 500 out of 32,000 housetops was
That's a big number.
very close on top of, and with the system Lance set up, we're able to, I think we're gonna be able to set something up where we continuously monitor the number of housetops and are able to accurately track it without having to physically go back out and count houses.
Good deal.
All right, so you need the board to entertain a motion to reduce the housetops bill.
Down to 31,688.
Mr. Morris's motion, second by Mr. Bishop. In comments, Mr. Cooper, thank you. Mr. Hicks, thank you and your team for working on that. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed with the light sign. Item B, Mr. Hicks.
Item B, I don't know if you all still have your bond copies up there with you.
I brought it in.
I don't.
All right.
See, I don't know if that's the current one or what.
Well, I have some updated numbers, but I think they'll just flow right into this. So
No, that is different.
He needs one over here.
Mine's outdated.
Did you change it from last time?
No, I did not.
Okay.
We did a little bit.
That last
Yeah,
net
last
budget
bit
number.
different. We got, 744. Yeah, that's a good bit different.
A little bit. Just a little.
Oh, damn, that's seven. No,
You might have included
which
another
one?
pay act.
No.
Yep.
That's changed there too. That stayed the same. Expenses remaining.
The net budget was different.
Yeah. With that number, the expense remaining too.
All right.
What you need us to do?
Yeah.
I need you guys to tell me you're okay with this,
Say it again.
allocation.
Go ahead.
Are you guys okay with the allocation, the plan going forward to expend the rest of the bond money? As shown here, until the bond runs out.
My only concern is this, where are the funds gonna come from to finish these projects?
Well, since we don't have any left, it'll have to come out of cash. Just like the matching money we doing for other things. I mean, I think we knew something like this would happen, especially when we used up all the bond money.
All right, Keith, refresh my memory, man.
Okay.
We have 9 million left. Right?
Yes, sir.
And we have how much? We don't really know a total.
We have
We don't really know a total.
We have
finish off the
8.6 million.
8.6.
In projected, in cash, in the bond, as of, again, that's as of, May 31st.
Do we have a number on what to complete these projects?
Another 500.
$476,982.
Yeah, I think,
As of now.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was, when I went back and changed, was that original sheet you had,
Yeah.
does have the amount suggested to complete. That's the amount to complete. That's the difference in the money.
Okay, well, it's actually this, so.
This is actually the best, that's the best figures to use right there. It has a little more information than you probably want to see, but it's a little more accurate. It's been strung out a while. We have different iterations.
This is the one we got last time, wasn't
It is, it is. My apologies. Some got updated and some didn't. So we have 8.6 million. The recommended allocations end up being about 9.4 million. That's your $744,000 difference. We believe that we're hoping Andrew Chapel's actually gonna come in a little less than what we're estimating, but we wanna make sure everything's covered.
How's that? I mean, is it, they putting asphalt down?
They're doing curbs today.
All right.
Good deal.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Chapel seems to be on target. You know, Andrew Jackson, we've already got a solid bid on it, so we know what that job is. Another road, we got phase 1, we've got a solid bid on it. You know, we've got phase 2. That we have to allocate, you know, once we get a bid in on that. Old Harrison, we've got that curve right there, Jared, you know, trying to do right there. District 5J, we've got that allocated. We need something there. $160 million, which we'll have to make up the difference. The LPA won't do the match difference on it. It went 10% over the thing, so LPA automatically kicks it out.
Yeah, but having said that, we don't, that's under those regulations under the LPA, right? I mean, if we built it to their regulations, it'd go to 1.6. We
Right.
can repave Spillway Road for far less than 1.6.
I've got an estimate now. I mean, we would have to put it out to bid, and I'll let Tim talk about it, but I've had somebody look at it. We can pave and do that project, probably with today's prices, somewhere around $800,000.
Which is, you know, because if you went back and got the LPA kicked back into another one, and you go back into a match, you're still going to spend that money if you had to do it that
Yeah,
route.
so the LPA money is the LPA money, and it's right at $400,000. That's all the money that the program is putting into it. So it's actually on the agenda for Monday to recommend rejecting the bid because we have to, and go back to MDOT. Now, obviously, if there's some way that they can put additional funds in, and I'm not aware of any that they can, it might be different. But there's in my opinion, there's no sense in going through the LPA process if your match is more than you could do it for just by going out for public bid and overlaying it. Because the LPA has some requirements. There's some guardrail that has to be replaced on the project
That doesn't need to be replaced.
it's functioning fine right now. Yeah, there's a lot of things like that. I say a lot, but there's several things that jump that price up besides the cost of the asphalt.
I think there's a lot of things we can do on that job.
Stretch money way out, they just.
With the county forces, Daniel,
They box themselves into where you can't.
we're cheaping that up, but that would be some MPO money. That's an MPO match, ain't it?
No, this is the county's portion.
Yeah, the county's portion of that.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Puckett Fire Station, Brad, I think we're pretty well about done there, right?
Well, the only thing I'd like on the Puckett Fire Station is eventually, and we don't have to do it this year, but make that a voting precinct and then get that up handicap accessible
Right out
for the
front.
voters out front. And that, I mean, we came in under budget on that, and there's 67,000 left there. I think we can do concrete, asphalt, or whatever, but
We cannot do it, we cannot use it as a voting precinct unless we make it ADA compliant. So,
and everything on the inside is to compliance, but except the outside.
We got to still do you'll have to do a little asphalt work on the outside to make it where it's compliant for. So that kinda, and then you got the Mill Creek, and that kinda sums up the projects right there.
I mean, as far as the animal shelter deal, I know there's 400 in there, and I mean, I just don't know what that route's gonna be, when it's gonna be done. And I mean, if 400,000 will finish a project up, I mean, we're gonna have to eventually one day do something on the animal shelter. It might be next year or 5 years, but I mean, if that 400 can finish up something, I don't think it'd be an issue.
Leave it sit there.
I don't know if it helps y'all. It probably won't. But unbeknownst to you guys, myself, your tax collector, folks within Larry's office have been hard at work. And by the way, the assessor's been involved as well, have been pretty hard at work on some things where we've been able to go and find some unpaid tax obligations that need to be dealt with. And this past week, we collected right at $500,000 in unpaid tax obligations and are standing to collect another roughly $150,000 in additional unpaid obligations. These are just things that have
Anything
been.
to do with the gas company?
Sir?
Anything to do with the gas company?
No, sir. Unfortunately, this doesn't have anything to do with our wonderful public utilities that we've been having such a fun time with recently. But these are other tax obligations that had just been out there, and we've got really good folks in the tax collector's office, in the tax assessor's office, in Larry's office. I gotta give them full credit. It is not unusual for them to be able to, just as a byproduct of coming across information that they deal with on a daily basis, they can find routinely where situations have been allowed to just kind of go, because nobody's paying a lot of attention to it. We got enough work to do, where we see some things that have happened, and I'll oftentimes get a contact point from somebody either in John's office or in the tax collector's, hey, why is this balance out here? Can you help us deal with this? And so they tee it up for me, and we get it done. And the result is, and I only mention that because we're talking about numbers that literally are right in the same ballpark of what I'm going out with their help and being able to collect for you. And so that's a bottom line deal for us, okay? Now, not every dollar that I collect comes directly to the county. Some of that ends up in other situations. Some of it goes to municipalities, some of it goes to school districts. But overall, these are bottom line dollars that we didn't have in hand that we now have in hand, and I just mentioned that. It's probably a benefit of close to $500,000 to the county.
I make a motion to approve the bond project list as presented.
All right, so a motion by Mr. Bishop to approve the bond project list as presented.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Right. Any
Item
questions
C,
on the agenda?
review.
For Monday, Tuesday.
All right. Thank you,
Tuesday.
Mr.
Y'all
Hicks.
take Monday off.
Thank you.
That's an excellent
Not sure
suggestion.
about that.
Item 10, additional business, Mr. Calhoun. Item 8.
Is this Brian wanting to do this?
No, I know some of the municipalities in Rankin County has pretty much banned the sale of kratom in the inside the city limits, and I know there's been a lot of issues with the kratom, and it's not being regulated, and I know the city of Pearl, city of Brandon, I think Puckett, they have requested and gave the folks time to have it all removed, and I just don't see why we just don't go ahead and do it countywide and include that Delta 8 also that's not being regulated and being sold. And Paul's here and Mike Word's here, and they can speak on the issues that they see.
Yeah. Sir.
Go, Paul. Or
I can tell you something on the kratom for sure, without a doubt. This is public knowledge, everybody knows it. Flowood firefighter jacked up on kratom, ended up breaking into I believe stole some drugs off the ambulance, broke into a car. He is, I believe, hooked up with a couple of 3 or 4 felonies. And to my knowledge, there's been a positive indictment. And sorry to say this, but he's no longer in the state of Mississippi.
What is?
He broke camp and went to North Dakota.
I saw this
So,
in the paper.
Public official got away with 5 felonies at this point, but at any rate.
He ain't got away. But tell me what this drug is, because I saw it in the paper, and I live out in the county, and they drink moonshine and stuff like that.
I can tell you the effects of the drug. Paul can give you some specifics of what it is and where it is. I believe it's just a synthetic cannabinoid. I believe.
Actually,
or whatever it is. I don't know. I know it's bad news.
I'm just going to read, and I'll go along with that. I'll just read from what I got off the DEA's website. They have a fact sheet on it. They've actually just listed it as a drug of concern. The DEA has. It's not regulated. There's not a whole lot known about it. They're trying to look into it more.
Hey, Paul, hold right there. Didn't the legislators try to get a bill this year to ban it?
So our very own Lee Yancey introduced a bill that was going to ban the sale of it throughout the state. It passed the House overwhelmingly, got to the Senate, and it died in committee there.
Really?
Okay. Yeah.
I would have figured the other way.
Is kratom the same as Delta 8?
No, they're different things. So Delta 8 THC, Delta 8 tetrahydrocannabinol is like Delta 9. Main ingredient in marijuana. It's basically its little brother.
Okay.
There's something to do with the chemical bonding. I'm a JD, not a MD, or that's about as far as I can get into explaining the science of it. But it's basically it has 2/3 of the effect. It's Delta 9 THC, and it's also another drug that's not regulated by the FDA, and it's something that they're looking into as well.
So we need to do an ordinance. Is that?
Or we can just write out. Ban it, give the store owners proper time, 30, 60 days, because, somebody is coming into the store selling them a product, a stand or whatever, to where you buy it, but they got to have time to come back and pick that up and tell them to get it out of the store and ban it in Rankin County.
How long do you want to do it?
30 days.
30 days? I mean, what do you think, Paul?
Is that
30,
enough
60
to
days?
Get the word out.
Who's gonna police it? I mean, I
Yeah.
wanna do it, but who is gonna?
Well, if, it'd be
And-
illegal for them
What do
to
you-
sell it.
Huh?
It will be, if we put a ban on it
Yeah.
in Rankin County, it will be illegal.
I understand that, but who's gonna catch them selling it?
Well, I mean,
Are you gonna arrest the owner or manager? Do we have a penalty if you get caught? That kind of
well,
stuff.
have you heard anything on the city of Brandon? What?
I guess we
I haven't
just
seen how Brandon's handled
copied
that.
one of the cities.
Since,
Gotta have some penalty.
Yeah.
Do y'all
Since-
want to just?
I wanna do it.
Let's do a little,
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
need
we
to
can
do
take
something.
we don't have to
Yeah.
take action today
Yeah.
unless y'all want to. Let's just think about it and talk
Well,
to some of the
Maybe-
chief of
yeah,
police.
We
and-
can, get everything in
I'm
order.
good.
I would
Look at
like
it
to
and
see
See how
how,
other places handle it.
Yeah.
Can
I'd
you
like to
check
see-
into that? and
Yeah,
see
I'll
how
check
they-
into it and bring some information back, but I'd like to see what Brandon's doing,
Yeah.
Pearl's doing from their enforcement side and see how
Okay.
they wanna handle it.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Paul. This is the item we've been waiting for. Item B. So, election of officers and Rankin County Board of Supervisors. I'm gonna make,
go. Here we
man,
go.
we've been trying to get to this point for so long, 9 months. From that same point, I'll make a motion to nominate, Mr. Calhoun as president with Mr. Gaines as vice president.
Second.
So second, motion by myself, second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And aye passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Calhoun.
Wonderful. I wish we'd got this billboard stuff taken.
That's why we tabled it.
Well, look, you got pretty lucky. You usually do this at the beginning of the, board meeting.
Janice is screwing with me still. That's just Janice,
Hey, before
toying
we go
with
into executive session, Mr. President, I'd like to add one item to the agenda, please. I'd like to make the motion to advertise Vernon Jones, project.
What?
ARPA.
Yeah.
So this would be authority to advertise Vernon Jones.
Did
as
you
an
have any
ARPA
cool stuff?
project And comply with
Lucky,
all ARPA
lucky.
regulations and all
I
state
second
laws
it.
as applicable.
I second it.
Parker, do you see how he beats me to the deal and I got mine done in October?
Yeah, this one has no.
I know, has
blue
no-
line
I know,
screen
I know.
implications.
And it's
That's why
also like 300,000.
All right.
Compared to your, like, what?
All right, we got a
20
motion.
million?
It's just a little over 300,000.
That's the motion to add.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the motion to
Second.
add.
Add to
We-
the agenda.
and,
Yep.
Steve seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, like sign.
I make a motion to advertise Vernon Jones project.
Do it. Second. All in favor? Aye.
I did go to Vernon Jones one time whenever we were having some flash flooding, and God, yeah, I was surprised. I thought Jay was pulling my leg when he said it was up over a hood or something.
All right, do we have a motion, or a need to go into executive session?
So personnel, mostly personnel, and there may be some implication of litigation as well.
I make a motion to discuss the need for executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I make a motion to go into executive session for personnel litigation.
All right. Do I have a second? I'll second
Know
it.
what you got?
We'll make them quick, it's just 6 now.
What's wrong?
What you need?
I'm going to the restroom real quick.
I'm gonna have to, or either just do it down my leg.